Live from the School of Communication and Media here at Montclair State University.
That's right, we're going to be live from this brand new one-year-old building, and we'll be checking out what's going on Twitter all night long.
Like I can go into diplomatic.
And then I really, if you have you guys done anything specifically for the election?
Unfortunately, no. Just haven't had the time.
So if I went along the lines and said something,
I could talk like separately, like aside from.
Okay.
Ready? Talk about like.
Yes, I am ready. More than ready. I missed 3 weeks of football for this, so you better know I'm ready. Uh-huh.
Classic.
3
It's
weeks
all right,
of
I don't have to
football.
make-
so if I said something like, last year I know you guys have, did this political potluck,
Yeah.
and it's been
Tonight, the most influential midterm elections in decades. At stake, control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. An interim report card on President Donald Trump. Here in New Jersey, Senator Robert Menendez in the fight of his career as he faces billionaire drug executive Bob Hugin. And in the House, a number of traditionally Republican districts are up for Democratic grabs, including in the 11th Congressional District, where Democrat Mikey Sherrill is in a high-profile race against Republican Jay Weber. And in the 7th, where Republican Leonard Lance is defending his seat against Democrat Tom Malinowski. Tonight, live reports from those headquarters, latest projections and numbers from all around New Jersey, probing interviews with some of the state's best journalists and analysts, and updates all night long from our social media desks, where your hashtags rule. From the state-of-the-art headquarters of the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University, this is Montclair News Lab, NJ Decides. Live from the News Lab, here's Kate Bronstein and AJ Malillo.
Good evening and welcome to Election Night 2018, live from Montclair State University in the School of Communication and Media.
That's right. We're in our brand new year-old building here, and we're very excited to be with you. We're going to be here all night, and we're going to be joined with our Twitter correspondent and WMSC representative, Pat Cicchetti, and our tweet beam. So make sure you tweet at hashtag NJDecides2018 and hashtag MSUDecides2018.
And if you're watching us tonight, that means you found us on one of the following platforms: Montclair News Lab, 90.3 WMSC, The Montclarian, YouTube, or Facebook Live. So there's many different ways you can get to see us tonight.
Right, and this production has been a collaboration of all of those organizations here at Montclair State University. Another person we'll be joined with is our roaming reporter, Amanda Eustace, and we're excited to hear who she's interviewing with today, and we'll be with her a lot more throughout this production. So
yes, we will. But tonight we are covering New Jersey Districts 2, 3, 7, and 11, as well as the New Jersey Senate race. And we were talking about the Senate race a lot here, AJ.
Yeah, the Senate race is big. It's not just big in New Jersey either. This is a big national race. But here at Montclair State University and throughout the whole state of New Jersey, we have a nice nickname for this race, actually. It's called the Battle of the Bobs, right? So why is this race called the Battle of the Bobs?
Yes, let's elaborate on this for our
sure.
friends
So
in the
we
audience.
have incumbent Senator Bob Menendez, who is taking on challenger Republican Bob Hugin. So Bob v. Bob, you know.
There we go, the Battle of the
The
Bobs.
Battle of the Bobs. And this is a very, very big race throughout the nation, because it pretty much is one of those things that if the Republicans win, it's a way to bolster their majority in the Senate. And this is a traditionally blue seat, you know, Kate?
That's the thing. New Jersey's typically blue, and one of the things that we were talking about is if it switches tonight, that's a big deal, because this is the first time since 1972 that New Jersey would have had a Republican in that spot.
Well, that they would have an elected Republican, right?
So we would have elected.
Right. So Clifford P. Chase was the last elected Republican, you're right, in 1972. Since then, there's been a couple other Republicans in the Senate, but they've always been appointed to the seats. They've never been elected to the seats. So it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, what happens, and if the Republicans can.
And especially because this is such a close race, and we're not going to call anything until it's official here, but we are definitely going to keep tabs on everything. We have so many people assisting us with this, and we're very grateful to them as well.
You're absolutely right. So just a little bit of background. Right now, the Republicans have a 51 to 49 seat lead in the Senate, and in the House of Representatives, there's a 235 to 193 seat lead. So we'll see how that pans out.
And we will. But right now, we are going to go live to Professor Mark Rosenwig in Studio A with another special guest.
Well, good evening and welcome to Studio A. And I have a special guest with me. Jonathan Alter is political commentator for MSNBC and NBC News and best-selling author, Montclair resident, documentarian. We're talking about your documentaries and so on. And welcome. Thanks for coming to campus.
My
It's
pleasure,
good to see
Mark.
you back here. We were talking earlier about the effect of this particular campaign this election on young people. What's your view of that, and what are your hopes coming out of that?
Well, I think it's just so important that young people connect to politics right now, because so much about the world they're growing up in is at stake in this election tonight. And, you know, there's some indications that turnout among young people is up today, sort of anecdotally. We'll find out more later on. But I think that younger people are recognizing that whether it's climate change or healthcare or education or democracy, like whether we will continue to have the democracy that we've enjoyed all these years, is very much on the line. And, you know, this to me is the most significant midterm election of my lifetime. And I'm over 60 now, and I've covered every presidential and midterm election going back to 1980. So both at NBC News and at Newsweek. And there's more at stake right now because of what this president has done in the last couple of years than there has ever been at stake before. And the people who are going to be affected by that are mostly young people. Now, the good news is there are a lot of millennials who are running for office this time, and a lot will likely be elected tonight. So there is generational change as a major theme of this election.
And women are playing a more active role than ever, correct?
Yes.
And also as candidates, of course.
Yes, and you know, we have, you know, in New Jersey, if you look at a candidate like Mikey Sherrill, who's you know, favored tonight, we'll see whether she wins, but she, you know, is an example, has been featured a lot in the national media as an example of the new breed of younger women. She's a veteran who may be getting prepared to take their place in our public life.
When you write your columns and so on, what kind of, are you getting more reaction as a result of this to the things that you write, and is it something that's coming from young people? I mean, what is motivating them to get involved this time around? Is it one thing or a combination of things, do you think?
I think it's a combination of things. I mean, there's some issues that you know, they've gotten involved in, like climate change or legalization of marijuana. But I also think that younger people are on to Donald Trump more than people my age. They get that he's a clown and a fraud, and I don't, and a liar. And you know, normally as a journalist, like you know, I would be very reluctant to use those kinds of adjectives in describing somebody, but our job is not to be stenographers who just, you know, report on what politicians say. If they're not telling the truth, or if they're acting in an irresponsible, demagogic fashion, it's our responsibility to point it out. And what's so interesting is that young people, much more than older people, and you'll see this in the exit polls tonight, they get that this guy is a menace to our country, and they get it much, much more than other age groups. And so, you know, that's why their participation is so important, because this election is really about, will he be checked or not?
Now, we may be jumping the gun a little bit, but we'll look at our crystal ball, your crystal ball, and what if the Democrats take the House? What would you expect to happen over the next 6 to 12 months? So
that's what I'm writing a piece for the Daily Beast about tonight. And there will be big changes. When you get control of one chamber of Congress, you get subpoena power. And that means that you can hold hearings. Donald Trump's taxes will come out in January or February. The House will, if it goes to the Democrats, will be able to do that. There will be oversight hearings on everything from his these allegations of tax fraud to Russia. If he were to fire Robert Mueller, they just ship the documents up Pennsylvania Avenue to Capitol Hill, and the investigation would continue in the House of Representatives, which it will anyway. If the head of the EPA or other agencies are doing things to hurt our environment, they'll be hauled up on Capitol Hill and grilled for that. So there's a lot that will happen. He won't be able to get a single piece of legislation through without the approval of the Democrats. And they might compromise on infrastructure or drug prices or some things, but basically his free hand will be greatly limited.
It'll be very interesting to see. We're jumping the gun, but we should prepare for the future, and we'll see what happens.
Right, absolutely.
But thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
Thanks,
again.
Mark. Great seeing you.
And now we're going to go back to the News Lab.
Thank you so much for that. And we just wanted to give all of you a quick update from our News Live desk here.
Yeah, so CNN has called the Virginia Senate race. Incumbent Democrat Tim Kaine is projected to defeat Republican Corey Stewart. So that's one seat that has fallen, but it just went back to the incumbent. So,
yeah.
I mean, nothing really changes when it comes to any change in who's in control, really, because the incumbent's got it.
And the polls have also closed in 8 states, including Vermont, Virginia, North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, and Florida. So
we're going to be seeing a lot more.
We're going to be standing by for everybody.
Exactly. And you know what? The Florida race, that's a big one. The North Indiana Senate race is a big one. So we got a couple big races coming out of those.
We have a little ways to go, but right now we have Bryn McDonald at Bob Menendez's camp, and that is going at campaign headquarters, excuse me. So let's check in with her and see what's going on. Bryn?
Thanks, Kate. I'm Bryn McDonald, and we are live from the campaign headquarters in Hoboken, New Jersey. It is in the midst of what really could be considered a historic New Jersey Senate race. Former Senator Bob Menendez is up against Republican challenger Bob Hugin, who has poured in over $36 million of his own fortune into going against Bob Menendez. Hugin has linked Menendez to personal scandal and government corruption and is really representing Menendez in a matter that people just do not want him as their senator representing their seat. They don't want him as a role model for their children, their grandchildren. And Menendez has shot back, linking Hugin to Donald Trump and really riding the anti-Trump wave that has seemed to infiltrate this country. Menendez is running not only in hopes of re-election, but in hopes of taking back control of the House and the Senate. As of this morning, Menendez did lead the polls by more than double digits, but this race is really a toss-up, and it really could go either way. As you can see, we are waiting on Menendez and his team to enter into the room, but we are just waiting on what could be considered a historic Senate race in the state of New Jersey. Kate and EJ, we're going to head back to you.
And Bryn, what is the vibe there at the camp? Is it think people are excited, or are they just nervous? Are they on the edge of their seats? What's the vibe of what's going on there?
Well, Kate, I would say the vibe, it is upbeat and it is hopeful. Just a few minutes ago, they were playing Carrie Underwood's song, The Champion. And I think they are really just trying to foreshadow what would be a victory for Bob Menendez and his campaign.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Bryn. And this election has been very important to the students here at Montclair State University. Earlier in the week, there was an event on campus where students decorated lawn signs with their ideas of freedom. Chris Hornstein has the story.
With midterm elections right around the corner and deadlines to register fast approaching, the director of University Galleries here at Montclair State brought a nationwide project to campus that blended art and expression with voting.
I think that art is always political. I'm a visual artist and I'm a curator. In both of those practices, I'm aware of the social impact of art or the social impact of the way that it's displayed.
The Four Freedoms Project helps people express themselves in 2 ways, with these freedom lawn signs and by helping them get registered to vote in the midterm elections.
For me, it's an opportunity for all people, regardless of their politics, whether they think of themselves on the left or the right or unaffiliated, to all come together and everyone's voice gets equal weight. What's your idea about freedom? What does freedom mean to you? What do you think you're free to do or that we should be free from?
Can I put my hat? I wrote freedom for equality. I do believe that everyone was created equal, so everyone should be treated equal, you know what I mean? So equality, I think that mixed with a little bit of more love, I think everybody would be all right.
Britta O'Dondi from the Office of Civic and Voter Engagement on campus helped more than 20 students get registered to vote in the midterm elections.
I feel like so happy because most people don't recognize that they can register to vote or that the process is so easy. A lot of young people are I would say, misinformed at how easy voting can be.
If this event was any indication, Montclair State students will be represented well at the upcoming election. For Montclair State, I'm Chris Hornstein.
So that was Chris Hornstein, and he gave us a little bit of background about MSU and what our university has been trying to do to really get out that vote, you know. So I think that it's important to talk a little bit about how the young turnout is very big in this election.
It is. And one of the things that we were talking about is how important that this might be over some other elections, that this midterm specifically has drawn more voters than a lot of other elections combined.
Absolutely. And we've been seeing those numbers as early voting has surpassed, you know, in previous midterm elections by a lot. I know I was an early voter because I was voting in my home district, and obviously I'm up here at school. So
I did mail-in ballot as well.
Right. So early voting is very big for this election, and young voting. That's the key. How is this young vote going to come out, and how are they going to vote?
One of the things that is really drawn a lot of young people is social media.
Definitely.
Without social media and this whole idea that people are heard on different platforms, I think that gives them a sense of power in themselves, and then they feel that they can just go and forth and then use those rights and put
Absolutely,
forth a
and
vote.
you see that with what happened after what happened in Parkland after the shooting, and how those kids made this sort of political revolution.
It did.
Just through social media, so that's really big.
And right now we want to go live to Ashley Kuzakonki at Bob Hugin's headquarters, where she's just chilling out and hanging out at Bob Hugin's headquarters. So, Ashley, how's it going over there? What's the vibe? Are people excited or nervous?
They're so excited. Everybody's a little bit nervous. Bob Hugin actually just arrived. He's right behind me. So everybody's greeting him. People are getting food, so they're getting their bellies all full. So it's a really good vibe going on right now. I actually have the spokesperson right next to me. This is Nick Icabella, Bob Hugin's campaign. Hi, Nick. How you doing tonight?
Hey, we're doing pretty well. A lot of great energy in the room.
What do you think the outcome's going to be?
Well, you know, it's too early to tell, but we always knew this race was going to be close. And what we're hearing right now is that it should be close. Polls close in about 10 minutes or so, and I think it's going to be a late night if the race is close.
And if, you know, he does win, you know, what do you think that would do to him in New Jersey?
Well, I think it means that the people of New Jersey realize that they could have a senator who's actually going to represent them, be independent, and actually work and serve for the people. You know, Bob is doing this for the right reasons. He's not a product of a political party. You know, he wasn't the mayor, the council person. He didn't fill out any special interest questionnaires the entire campaign. He basically funded the campaign himself. And, you know, if he actually does go to Washington, be New Jersey senator, the people will know that they actually have a senator whose sole concern is what's best for them.
And what kind of changes do you think Bob will end up doing for the people?
Well, Bob is a healthcare expert, 20 years in biotech, 11 on the board of Atlantic Health, one of the most forward-looking hospital integral care systems in the country, right here in New Jersey. And healthcare reform has been something that's on the mind of New Jerseyans for a long time. We still have problems today in healthcare. I think Bob would be a pivotal force in bringing people together to actually do what we need to do to lower costs.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick, and good luck to all of you here. So yeah, guys, we're here at Bob Hugin's campus headquarters in Stagehouse Tavern, New Jersey. Sorry about that. Back to you guys at the anchor desk.
Well, Ashley, I was wondering, did Bob Hugin get close to you? I heard a little birdie on my shoulder tell me that you got really, really close to him and like physically like right next to him. Did that happen at all?
Sorry, didn't quite hear that.
It's okay. A little birdie on my shoulder told me that you got really close, like Bob Hugin was standing right next to you. Did that happen?
Yeah, he was actually right to the left of me right before we started on camera over here.
Oh my goodness.
In the building, yeah. It's like a celebrity in my presence right now. Heart's beating so fast.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Ashley. And
definitely. So what was said in Ashley's interview was really important and something that we've definitely seen with exit polls. Right now, healthcare seems to be a lot more important to the voters than the economy, which is something that the Republicans have been running on. You know, President Trump has prided himself on his great economy, and if voters are more in line with healthcare than the economy, this tonight might not bold as well as the Republicans hope it will.
Right.
And like they said, we'll see if the New Jersey voters think that Bob Hugin will be this independent voice in the Senate as somebody who knows healthcare, who's been in the industry.
He's been in the industry for years.
So we'll find out if that talking point resonated with New Jersey voters.
We have to wait and see. But he definitely has, like you said, he was one of the driving forces in the Senate to move past specific fights on health care.
Right.
We'll see what happens with him on that. And he also believes that we need to address certain things like the increasing inequality of health outcomes.
Yeah, definitely. But Hugin is, he said it in the debate when he was debating Menendez on NJTV, he's not as much of a Trump Republican as...
I think he described himself as a moderate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's not afraid to go against the party on certain issues, and healthcare is one of them. He believes that, you know, he'd look into anything to really try and help our healthcare system in this country.
Absolutely. And we have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us tonight, going around asking different people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda?
Hey, thanks, Kate and AJ. I am roaming around this newsroom trying to find...
Okay, so sorry, we lost Amanda.
We lost
really
it. It's
there,
okay.
But
we were talking about healthcare and Bob Hugin and just his career in it prior to this election.
Exactly, and you know what? And that's been one of the biggest talking points against Bob Hugin too. So I think that's really important to mention. Is the Menendez camp has used Hugin's record against him in this election, saying that while he was the CEO of the company that he was in charge of, he raised drug prices on cancer patients 3 times in 1 year.
Yeah, so, and I just want to quickly mention, we want to just cut to something real quick. Bridget Harrison is a political science and law professor at Montclair State University, and we sat with her to talk about the New Jersey races, and here is what she had to say.
Well, I think that what a lot of people are paying attention to is the U.S. Senate race between Senator Menendez and his challenger, Bob Hugin. A lot of people are looking at that race because the U.S. Senate is so tight in terms of its partisan breakdown. And typically in New Jersey, we don't have very competitive Senate elections because we tend to be a blue state, right? We elect Democrats. But this year, Mr. Hugin has invested about $24 million of his own money trying to make this election competitive. We did see some of that effect during the summer, but in the past couple of weeks, we've seen Senator Menendez kind of even out in the polls and surge ahead. But I think a lot of people, both in the state of New Jersey and nationally, are paying attention to that election. I also think that, unlike most years, we have actually 4 competitive House races. In New Jersey, our congressional districts are kind of designed to be either Democrat or Republican. But this year we saw the retirement of 2 U.S. House members who are Republicans, Congressman Rodney Frelinghuysen in the 11th Congressional District and Congressman Frank LoBiondo down in South Jersey in the 2nd Congressional District. Both of those elections, what we're seeing is that Democrats are poised to take those seats. In the 2nd, it's very likely that Jeff Van Drew will beat his challenger, the Republican Seth Grossman, who's aligned himself with President Trump. In the 11th Congressional District, which Montclair State University is part of, what we're seeing is that this is an incredibly competitive race, one of the most expensive in the country, and we also see high levels of student engagement where Mikey Sherrill, a former Navy pilot, is taking on a state legislator, Jay Weber, for that seat, a very competitive election. There also are 2 other House races. Tom MacArthur was one of the architects of the alternative to the Affordable Care Act. He's being challenged by Andy Kim, who was a former Obama staffer. And another race that we're watching is Leonard Lance's district. Congressman Lance is a Republican, a relatively moderate Republican, but he's also facing a serious challenge from Tom Malinowski. In normal election years, those races wouldn't be competitive. We tend to re-elect our incumbents, but this year they are much more competitive than in years past. College students are traditionally amongst the least likely to vote, but I would say that the premise here is that when you compare college students with other voting demographics, older Americans, for example, or even middle-aged Americans, they are less likely to vote, but the reality is that this generation of college students are much more politically engaged than any other generation has been when they have been college students. So it's kind of a fallacy to say that college students aren't engaged. In fact, when you compare college students today with their parents when they were college students or people of my generation, young people, millennials and next-gen college students tend to be much more politically active and more civically engaged in their communities. What we're seeing is that lots of young people have been engaged, and most of the data shows that they are particularly active within the Democratic Party. They're constituting part of this blue wave, though of course that's not universally true. The other part is that there are some issues that are mobilizing young people. Among these issues in states is the issue of recreational marijuana use. The other issue is gun control. So around those issues, we're seeing cohorts of young people lobbying state legislatures, but also advocating for the election of various elected officials.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you. Now we go live again to Professor Mark Rosenwig in Studio A with 2 more special guests.
I've also got a news update for you. CNN right now is reporting that the Democrats have won the seat in Virginia's 10th Congressional District. Republicans held that, Barbara Comstock held that for quite some time, and that may be the first sign that the Democrats are going to have a good night in the House, but we'll see what happens. But we have a couple of students here who have had a lot to do with voter turnout here on campus. I want to introduce you to Britta Odandi, who's a graduate student and coordinator for the Student Voter Engagement Project here at MSU, and also Joe Dybus, who's Ambassador of Civic and Voter Engagement, and welcome to both of you. And Britta, if you would start out telling me about what you guys are doing and the results you got, which are impressive in getting students registered to vote here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us tonight. I'll start off with what we've been doing. We focus on making sure students are not only informed to vote, but they're also registered to vote. So throughout the semester so far, we've been holding voter registration drives, holding events with different campus organizations, different student leaders, and Joe will go ahead and tell you a little bit about what results we've been seeing.
Thank you, and once again, thank you for having us.
She's a great host, by the way.
Thank you.
So recently, we just found out that for Machuga Heights, one of our polling locations on campus, last year we saw about, for the governor race, we saw about 300 students came out to vote, and we're already up around 430 students came out to vote on campus, which is record numbers for our office in civic and voter engagement. So we are astonished, and we're extremely proud of our campus for being civically involved and really participating in our democracy.
And you said something about, though, a total of about 700 voter registrations among students, even though some of them may vote elsewhere. Is that correct?
Right. So currently, Montclair was in the New Jersey Ballot Bowl, which was an initiative started by the Secretary of State, Tanisha Way, and that was a competition amongst universities in New Jersey to become, to really have a friendly competition amongst them to have students registered to vote. So we came in first place for our bracket, which was for universities between 5,000 and 40,000 students. So Montclair took the #1 spot, and we had over 700 students registered to vote.
Well, congratulations on that. That's exciting news, and you're doing a great job. Tell us, though, why so many more students signed up this year. What are your thoughts about that, Britta?
I think students turned up significantly because they feel as though this time they're affected. They see candidates that represent who they are. From diversity, you see women, people of color, LGBTQ, they're represented, and I feel as though for the first time in maybe a while, they feel as though their voice can truly be heard and make a difference. And then we're also seeing an increase in students seeing the importance of local elections because it directly affects them. So I think those are major reasons why more students are getting involved.
I think a lot's at stake in this election. You know, a few weeks back we had the Senate President Steve Sweeney on campus, and they were talking about, you know, there's a lot on stake for education, women's rights here in New Jersey, healthcare. So there absolutely is a lot at stake, and I feel as though students are really starting to get involved and saying, hey, you know what, I want to make a difference, and I want my future to be shaped the best for me.
Well, thank you both, and the key now, though, is to get these students to keep voting, correct?
Yeah.
To stay engaged.
Correct.
Okay? But thank you for what you're doing. It's,
thank you so
it's great
much.
to hear. And now let's go back to the News Lab.
Thank you so much, Professor Rosenwig. And just really briefly, you know, student engagement is really important. especially on a college campus.
Especially in Montclair State University, we've had a lot of that here. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to see that, definitely. So, you know, we'll see how that turns out. We'll see how those votes play out in
and finding people to represent us as students.
Tonight, the most influential midterm elections in decades. At stake, control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. An interim report card on President Donald Trump. Here in New Jersey, Senator Robert Menendez in the fight of his career as he faces billionaire drug executive Bob Hugin. And in the House, a number of traditionally Republican districts are up for Democratic grabs, including in the 11th Congressional District, where Democrat Mikey Sherrill is in a high-profile race against Republican Jay Weber. And in the 7th, where Republican Leonard Lance is defending his seat against Democrat Tom Malinowski. Tonight, live reports from those headquarters, latest projections and numbers from all around New Jersey, probing interviews with some of the state's best journalists and analysts, and updates all night long from our social media desks, where your hashtags rule. From the state-of-the-art headquarters of the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University, this is Montclair News Lab, NJ Decides. Live from the News Lab, here's Kate Bronstein and AJ Melillo.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back to New Jersey Decides Election Night 2018.
We're very excited to be back, and we're very excited to be here, and a big thing just happened. CNN is projecting that the Democrats will take their first House seat from Republicans in a key Virginia race. We heard Professor Rosenwig mention that before his interview started, so that is very big. Jennifer Wexton defeated...
the
Democrat Jennifer Wexton defeated the Republican in that race. So that's a big thing. That's a big chip to fall.
But here back in New Jersey, in District 11, where Montclair State University is, we had Mikey Sherrill come here, and Joe Biden...
And Joe Biden and Phil Murphy were here promoting her, and that was a very big event here at Montclair State University. One of the biggest events since my time here, and I've only been here for 2 years. How about you? Is it one of the biggest?
This is my senior year, so this is my 4th year here. But one of the things that I wanted to emphasize was her visit really impacted young voters, and a lot of people are now going to the polls just seeing, I think.
Definitely. So we actually have somebody at the Mikey Sherrill camp. We have Louis Biondolillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, how's it looking over there?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here at Mikey Sherrill's campaign viewing party here on election night, and it's going great so far. The mood in the room is very exciting. There's not many people here yet because it doesn't start for a few more hours, but I've seen many volunteers go around, and they're very excited, buzzing around, both top volunteers and student volunteers. They're very excited for tonight. You can tell. I've talked to a few of them. They're very confident in what's going on tonight. So I just wanted to put into picture, these midterms are one of the biggest that we're going to see in a long time, one of the biggest that we've seen in a long time. And this race specifically between Mikey Sherrill and Jay Weber is one of the biggest in this midterm. The reason for that is because it's one of the key spots that Democrats need to take in order to take back the House of Representatives. It's very important for the Democrats to take back this spot. If they don't, it's very unlikely for them to take back the House. If they do, it's very likely that they will. So that's what they're very excited about tonight, that Mikey Sherrill might be one of the deciding factors between a Democratic-controlled House and a Republican-controlled House. I actually spoke to Mikey Sherrill about 6 days ago in the School of Communication and Media at Montclair State University. We talked about bipartisan issues between Democrats and Republicans and how there's a very tight divide right now in our country with President Trump on the Republican side and many other Democrats leading the Democrat side. And she was talking to us about how both sides need to collaborate with each other. So this is what she said.
Well, luckily, I think there are a lot of bipartisan plans going on. So I personally am a veteran. I flew helicopters in the Navy, and I was a Russian policy officer. And there is a group supporting veterans running on both sides of the aisle with honor in order to kind of form some of those bipartisan bridges to get good legislation passed. We know in our sister district, Josh Gottheimer is a member of the Problem Solvers group. They are working very hard to break the kind of gridlock in Congress right now. So we see a lot of good initiatives to move forward and get some good bipartisan legislation passed.
So that's what Mikey Sherrill had to say about that and the bipartisan issue. So it was very interesting to talk to her. Now, back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Lewis. And it's really important to note that New Jersey polls just ended at 8 p.m. They just closed.
As well as 15 other states.
Right, yeah. So Florida was a big state that we're going to be looking at.
Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee.
Yeah, so
just to name a few.
So we got a bunch of states closing, and we'll be back about all of those races when we hear more.
Yes, we will.
Right, so...
well, now we want to go to Rebecca Eugene at Jay Weber's campaign headquarters. So how is it? How is Weber's campaign headquarters, Rebecca? How's it going over there?
It's slowly filling up with individuals. Everybody here is in full and 100% support of Jay Weber. I've talked to many different volunteers, and they talked about how they support many stances he's given about issues that surround New Jersey every day. As you can see behind me, we're slowly filling up, but the room is filled with support 100% all the way. Back to the desk.
Well, I hope it's going well over there, Rebecca. So
yeah, this is a really big race in New Jersey, definitely.
It's Mikey Sherrill versus Jay Weber in District 11, just so all of you know. But it's Mikey Sherrill is a former United States Navy helicopter pilot as well. But right now, real quickly, we want to go to Amanda Eustace in the news lab with us tonight, and she's going around asking multiple different people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda?
Hey, thanks, Kate and AJ. Yes, I'm here in the news lab, roaming around, trying to listen to everybody's opinions about what's going on with this election and where they think this road is going to take. Now, I'm actually standing by right here next to me is Joe Amditas. He is the Associate Director for the Center for Cooperative Media, and he's actually monitoring the NJ Spotlight sponsored map that's right behind us. So he's going to tell us a little bit about it.
So right behind us, we have the NJ Spotlight live election results map, and there are three maps right now, three interactive items right now. We have a Senate race map, congressional districts map, and then the public question. And so if you look behind me here, we have on the map here, we have the Senate map behind us. They're all empty right now because we haven't put any data in. The polls just closed about 7 minutes ago, so the county clerk's offices will start to file in the results. They'll put them all into their spreadsheets, and then we'll be able to update that, put it into our back end, and you'll start to see different colors appear. Obviously blue for Democrats, red for Republicans, and when you see a purple area in one of the counties or one of the districts, that means it's getting close.
Interesting. Now, when it comes to the ballot question, I know that's been a huge hot topic, especially today. Do you know where they come up with it? How does that come to be?
Well, I'm actually not an expert on this, but I do know that there's a petition process that goes through several committees, and it goes up the chain all the way to the point where they finally decide to put it on the ballot. They make a referendum, and the voters are allowed to decide on a specific question or questions that's been deemed as something that the voters need to have input on.
Now, I know it's based off of education, and there's about $500 million that they said are up for grabs. Now, I know it's breaking down maybe into 3 or 4 different counterparts. Can you say where at least they think the money is going to potentially go?
Okay, so NJ Spotlight reporter John Reitmeyer did a great piece on this, and he basically, there's $500 million. It was supposed to be $1 billion, but Governor Murphy uses conditional veto to cut it in half. And basically $350 million of that is going to go to support vocational and tech schools in New Jersey. There's a huge market for jobs right now. There's a lot of jobs that are out there, but there aren't people who know how to do those jobs to fill them. And so part of that money is going to be spent on new training and job training programs in our VOTEC schools. The second, another $50 million is going to go towards county colleges and trying to support and improve their infrastructure. And then the final $100 million will go to school security upgrades as well as the water conditions. The drinking water in our schools in a lot of New Jersey schools has lead in it. It's terrible quality, and so that money will go towards improving the quality of water.
Now, in terms of this question, have you spoken to a lot of parents that have maybe leaned one way more towards the other, just based off of what they've been hearing about this question?
About whether they support or oppose it. I generally try to stay away from parents. They freak me out. But no, I mean, the general consensus is that this has actually been a somewhat confusing or obfuscated question. Not a lot of people really know what this is about. And so, in fact, most people, I think, are finding out about this question when they get to the polls, unfortunately. And that's something that we're constantly trying to improve on at the New Jersey News Commons and the Center for Cooperative Media. Try to find better ways to, work with the civic information that's out there and get it in the hands of people who are going to be making these decisions.
Great, Joe. Thank you. Kate and AJ, I'm throwing it back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much for that, Amanda. Now we go live to Christian Curatola at Leonard Lance's campaign headquarters for the 7th District. Christian, how is it out there?
I'm actually over at Bob Hugin's campaign party because that's where Leonard Lance is. Nobody's at the HQ. So instead, I'm here mingling with people, meeting a whole diverse cast of characters, from people ranging in age from 17 to 78, and meeting all kinds of people of all different backgrounds, and trying to find out really what the core of the Leonard Lance supporter is. And the simple answer is there is no core. There's just so many different kinds of people with so many different reasons for supporting Lance that I don't know. We're set for some very interesting figures to talk to throughout the night. And for example,
well, thank you so much for that, Christian. Now we're going to talk to Dominique at the Malinowski campaign headquarters, checking in on what's up with her. So how is it going over there? Okay.
Right, we'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that at some other time,
yeah,
no problem.
This race is an interesting one also because it's Leonard Lance, who's an incumbent, against Tom Malinowski, and some of the polls that we were seeing before this election day had Malinowski ahead, which as Bridget Harrison was saying in a package earlier, you know, that's not usually what happens in these seats. You know, usually just your incumbents just sort of win the seats easily, but not in this election. It's been a struggle for Leonard Lance.
It's a toss-up, and one of the reasons we're covering 2, 3, 7, and 11 is because there's no guarantees. And it's not tipping one way or another.
Right, but we can, you know what we can do? We can see how Twitter is tipping, if they're tipping one way or other. So we actually have our tweet beam with Pat Cicchetti live from the newsroom. So here's Pat giving us updates on what's social media saying about today's events. Pat?
Thanks, guys. Pat Cicchetti here. Usually I'm upstairs on 90.3 WMSC, but right now I am down here in the News Lab because we're following two different Twitter tags right now. We're following MSU Decides 2018 and NJ Decides 2018. And anytime somebody on Twitter uses those hashtags, they'll show up here. So we're going to get an idea of what's happening, what people are saying as the polls are closing, and what people are thinking, what they're looking for. Starting off with Professor Tara George telling us, hopefully, that we're doing an amazing job here. If not, I'm going to pretend because I think she likes me. Anyway, next up, Molly Jean rooting for Andy Kim, and I have no idea who that is. No, I'm just kidding. That's our social media director at 90.3 WMSC, and she's amazing. Alexandra Alice is urging people to vote no on one of the questions this time. Philippe Costa is looking forward to us not talking about the election, but I'll take it. Free compliments. Sure, thanks, Phil. I appreciate it. Same thing with you, Professor George. Anytime you want to compliment us, you could use these hashtags, and I'll take it, and I'll pretend it's up to me. Right now, we have more from the News Lab as well. People talking about us. There's Molly again. Yay. That's cool. Those are some of our social media team members here who are going to be helping us put this together and make the whole thing work. Miss Andrie wants you to go out and vote even though it is raining, and it was raining, but it's starting to clear up. So we'll keep an eye on Twitter and what's happening here. Kate and AJ, back to you.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to Professor Rosenwig in Studio A with John Mooney.
My guest is John Mooney. John is the CEO and education writer for the website NJ Spotlight, now celebrating almost its 9th year. Yeah. And welcome back to campus. It's great to see you almost every election night.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
Along those lines, though, what have you and your colleagues seen that is super special about this election wrapping up over the last month or so that maybe you haven't seen in a lot of elections?
Well, you'd never. Midterm elections, congressional elections are usually sleepers. I mean, they are not at all the newsworthy event that they are this year. I mean, this year has really taken it to a whole new level, and we've seen it play out in New Jersey. There've been 4 or 5 races here that have been really tight, and actually opportunities to switch from Democrat to Republican or Republican to Democrat, and some would argue are a bellwether for the country. I mean, I think some of the results, and they're coming in now, or they're now in. Some of those results are really going to tell folks what's going to be happening in the rest of the country, and it's been fascinating, and they've been hard fought. A couple of them have been nasty, and certainly every indication today was turnout was strong. So, you know, I'm real curious how this is going to turn out.
What issues have most of the voters you've talked to been focused on?
Trump. I mean, it really. I mean, there's some there are a couple policy issues around him, but this is certainly a referendum on President Trump. It's certainly, especially in the suburban areas and among the women vote, which is where you've seen really some of the biggest numbers in the polling, at least so far. So there are a couple. Immigration certainly is an issue. It's a wild card of sorts because I think people have strong opinions about that, and that could affect their vote. Abortion to a degree. The budget and the tax cuts. New Jersey was unique in that we lost a tax deduction, which really hit a lot of suburban homes in New Jersey. But I think they all come back to, is this person going to support President Trump going forward, or are they going to fight President Trump? And you've seen that come up, and it's really been fascinating how the candidates have all sort of moderated, and it's not one or the other. I mean, Mikey Sherrill in this district, the 11th, is a Democrat. You'd think she'd be running against Trump, but it's also a very Republican district.
Well, it was interesting that you mentioned that because I noticed in the last days of the campaign, she was running a commercial saying, "I'm not a typical Democrat."
Yeah.
No surprise there to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, and the Republicans similarly. Leonard Lance down in District 7, central part of the state, has sort of distanced himself from Trump. He hasn't run as a Trump Republican. Even Tom MacArthur down in Camden area doesn't run as a Trump Republican, and so you're seeing them all try to drift to this middle to win that independent voter, and largely it's a big case of it is in the suburbs where that's where Trump won last in 2016. Now can he win in 2018?
And I even noticed in the latter stages of the campaign that Senate candidate Bob Hugin was all of a sudden saying, "I'm not a rubber stamp for the president."
Yeah, despite having been on his transition committee and a few other places. That was a particularly nasty campaign. I mean, and we knew it would be. They both had a lot of money. Hugin, in his case, his own money. Menendez raised a lot of money, and Bob Menendez, senator. And they went at it on ads over and over. I saw 3 ads, within a half hour of each other Sunday night, and a lot of them were negative ads. It wasn't really talking about how great they were. It was how evil and corrupt the other was. So we'll see how that one fares out.
The other question is, what could be done with all the money that's spent on all these kind of campaigns, all the commercials, not only here, but in Texas we have gigantic spending on the Senate race and other things there. Sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, campaign finance has taken on an industry of its own. And what's really been interesting, there's a lot of criticism of dark money in campaigns and PACs and super PACs that have money that's not disclosed where it comes from. That used to be a big thing on the Republican conservative side. You're seeing a lot more on the Democratic side too. So there's a lot of deep pockets moving on both sides of the aisle.
You have just a few seconds left. You focus on education. What should we know about education, the state of it here right now in this bond issue that was on the ballot?
Yep, there's a $500 million bond issue that will support, if approved, would support facilities improvements specifically for county vocational schools and also community colleges, also some money for school security and for lead remediation in water infrastructure. So if you care about your school buildings, especially the county school buildings, this is a bond issue to support.
Thanks for joining us. Always great to see you. We look forward to the rest of the results tonight as well. Now let's go back to the News Lab.
Thank you so much, Professor. Now we go live to Ashley Kuzakonki at Bob Hugin's headquarters, where she's been hanging out all night. So, Ashley, how is it going over there? Any cool things going on, or?
Yeah, actually, they're starting to announce who's been winning so far. So everybody's just glancing up at the TVs, and a lot of the Republicans have been winning. So Florida just won, so the crowd was just cheering. Bob Hugin was actually just right behind us. He is actually just right behind us still. So we're trying to get him over here, but the atmosphere is just crazy over here. Everybody's super excited. So far, it's a win for a lot of the states that everybody's cheering for.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley.
Yeah. Like she said, Florida it's too close to call right now, but DeSantis, they're saying, is taking a bit of a lead over Andrew Gillum, the Republican DeSantis.
Yeah, 86% reporting in the Florida governor race. But right now we have Bryn McDonald at Bob Menendez's campaign headquarters here in New Jersey. Let's check in to see what's going on. Bryn?
Thanks, Kate. And as Ashley said, we are keeping a close eye on the polls across the country at the Menendez headquarters in Hoboken. There are cheers for every Democratic victory, and the room seems to go dead quiet when there is a Republican victory. There is actually a baby Trump balloon flying around the room. As you can see to my left, it should be in the top right corner of the shot. That who knows what will happen with that balloon at the end of the night, whether it's a Menendez victory or a Menendez loss. We'll see what happens with that balloon and what it is for. People have flooded the room in the time that we last checked back with you. There are so many Menendez supporters wearing Menendez 2018 t-shirts, and there are many women wearing the Future is Female t-shirts. Obviously, Bob Menendez is a huge supporter of abortion rights and equal pay, and he definitely has the support of a lot of women in this room tonight.
Okay, well, thank you. And along with the New Jersey races, Bridget Harrison talked to us about the U.S. election as well and how it will affect our nation.
Well, there are a couple of things. First off, everyone is concerned with how the House and the Senate will break down, right? There's the idea that perhaps if Democrats are able to capture the House or the Senate or both, that may kind of thwart the Trump agenda. It also may mean that Mr. Trump is looking at 2020 and congressional races beyond with perhaps a more moderated stance. If Republicans are able to keep control of both the House and Senate, that empowers President Trump. It makes him more bold in terms of both his rhetoric and his policies. So those are important things. Another thing that we're looking at is the outcome of these gubernatorial elections. In New Jersey, we don't have a gubernatorial election, but so many states there are competitive elections. In fact, there are many more competitive elections this year than there have been probably in about 2 decades. So there's the question of whether this blue wave that has been talked about, kind of a reaction against President Trump, is going to make gubernatorial elections in traditionally red states more competitive. Finally, another thing is that state legislatures are up for grabs. Now, why should we care about the outcome of state legislative races throughout the country? When we were talking earlier about the competitiveness of House races, in some states, the state legislative composure is what designs the maps going into House races. That is, they're the folks who get to decide what a congressional district looks like. And so the outcome of those state legislative races may have a very strong bearing on what the districts look like when members of the House of Representatives go to run for re-election in 2022, which would be the first election after reapportionment and redistricting. So the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, I think, mobilized a segment of the voting population. For some people, like some New Jerseyans who are choosing a U.S. senator, one of the takeaways is that the composition of the Senate matters, right? It matters because the Senate is so closely divided. If you agree with President Trump, then you want more Republicans in the U.S. Senate. If you don't agree with President Trump and you oppose the Kavanaugh nomination, then you want more Democrats in the U.S. Senate. And so I think that for some people, that becomes the determining issue about how they're casting their vote for the U.S. Senate. For other people, and I think it's a smaller segment of the population, but primarily women, and particularly women who they themselves have either been victims of sexual assault or harassment, this has been a really galvanizing issue, and they're going to the polls with the express purpose of voting for candidates who support measures that would penalize sexual offenders or oppose people like Mr. Kavanaugh, who was alleged to have committed a crime.
And now we have Dominique Jackson live at the Tom Malinowski campaign headquarters checking in. What's up, Dominique?
Dominique Jackson reporting live from the Tom Malinowski camp here at District 7. And right now I'm here with Mark Bonamo. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you?
And you are a reporter at NJ Spotlight and an editor at Tap Into Newark.
That's correct.
And if you could give me a little bit of the atmosphere that's here going on at the District 7 for Tom Malinowski's camp.
Here in District 7, which is comprised of a lot of central New Jersey, you've got parts of Essex, Union, Somerset, Morris, and all of Hunterdon County, all the way to the Delaware River. you're seeing a very, very close race between Democrat Tom Malinowski and incumbent Leonard Lance. From what I've been told, this race could come down to only several thousand votes in a race that's very important in terms of how the national balance of power is going to be in Congress.
And what do you think the turnout is possibly going to be tonight?
Turnout, I've heard in many places in the 7th Congressional District, is excellent. We're in Berkeley Heights in Union County. Nearby in Westfield in Union County, there have been lines around the block. Even if there's been problems with voting machines at some of the polling places, people have been willing to wait for the situation to be corrected, even standing out in the rain, because they are so excited and motivated to vote in this year's critical midterm elections.
And how would you think millennials and Gen Zs are doing in the voting polls this year? Do you think they came out and were excited to vote, nervous to vote? How is the atmosphere at the voting polls?
I think for millennials and Gen Zs, I think a lot of it has to do with a theme that's been overall happening across all voting. It's all about Donald Trump and how you feel about the president and how he's done so far in his administration. People who are Generation Z or millennials might be concerned about things like student loans, but also everybody is concerned about health care. And that is a major issue driving not only what's happening here in the 7th Congressional District, but all around the country.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark Bonanno.
Very much. My pleasure.
Welcome. And we're going back to the studio. I'm Dominique Jackson here reporting live at Tom Malinowski's camp at District 7. Back to the studio.
And now we go live again to Professor Mark Rosenwig in Studio A with another special guest.
My guest this time is Carla Baranowski. I think I got it almost right. Baranakis, excuse me. You are with the Huffington Post. You spent many years with the New York Times, including many elections. What are you seeing tonight that you haven't seen before?
The enthusiasm for voting this time around, I think, is incredible. And I think the young people coming out to vote is something that we haven't seen in a long, long time. In my own particular polling place, when I went to vote, I usually have about 100 people have voted by the time I get there, and today it was 360. And they also said that there were a large number of young voters coming out, and I think that's really terrific.
What kind of issues do you think are getting them out?
I think that some of the issues that relate to civility, the things regarding race, ethnicity, immigration, LGBTQ, I think all of those things are of concern to younger people. I think that people of a younger generation are more comfortable with diversity and see the benefits in diversity and don't want to see their friends being mistreated. I think that the other thing that I think has spurred the enthusiasm is that the Kavanaugh hearings for the Supreme Court, I think, really drove home to people that political decisions live with us for a very long time. So it really does matter who our representatives and senators are.
You're the first one who's mentioned Kavanaugh tonight on any of the programming here. Why do you feel so strongly about it? And hasn't it been overshadowed by other things recently, like the gun massacre at Tree of Life and so on?
I think that the news keeps moving faster and faster, and so we tend to forget the specific thing that is, has one day is in the front of our mind and then the next day it's past. However, I think one of the things that we heard over and over again during the Kavanaugh hearings is that it's a lifetime appointment. And so I think that started to make people think, oh, this isn't just a decision that will happen this week and then we can change it next week. This is something that we will be living with for a long time.
Now, there is some speculation that if the Democrats take over the House of Representatives, they may find ways to investigate Kavanaugh and other things. Do you see that happening?
I think that would be a pretty tough thing to accomplish. And if the Democrats do take over, perhaps they will do that. But, as we've seen, through history, even with things like trying to impeach a president, it's a very difficult thing to actually succeed in removing somebody from office. So I think Democrats will probably be weighing the benefits and the costs to their agenda of doing something like that, because they'll also be looking ahead to the 2020 election and to be seeing how do they set themselves up the best way for that.
Carla Baranakis, thank you for joining us. I think I got the name right on the second pass.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing your reporting on the Huffington Post.
Thank you very much.
And now we go back to the News Lab.
Thank you, Professor Rosenwig.
Always great to hear from you and your guests, so thank you so much.
And like she said, the Kavanaugh effect is going to have a big influence on this election, so we'll see how that plays off and what side people really fall on that issue. You know.
Yeah, and we will be right back. And now we go to Pat Cicchetti live from the News Lab floor. Pat?
Thanks, guys. We're still following the hashtags MSU Decides and NJ Decides. If you want to see your tweet up here on our broadcast, use those. We're using them to follow what people are thinking and how people are feeling after voting and to kind of get a feel of what's happening. So we'll start off with Elizabeth Harmon quoting Republicans talking about health care and then referring to it as a lie. She has some serious opinions on the subject. Moving on, we have Sage Javi of the Sixth Paths, who, by the way, wins my award for weirdest username of the day, although there's another one who was just tweeting as Sauce, so hopefully we'll see him later. But Mr. Sage of the Sixth Paths, who's using Mac Miller as his avatar, says this is a huge day and the implications for the country moving forward are some of the greatest we've seen. And despite his choice of username and Dead Rapper as a picture of for his profile, he's right. This is a huge election, and stakes are pretty high. Going forward, we have Danny Loves Muffins begging you, please vote. Your voice matters. And I agree with her on two things. I love muffins, and you need to vote. Your voice matters. Oh, there he is. This is Sauce. He's been showing up since we've been rehearsing earlier today. Thank God he hasn't left yet. He thinks he's going to go with Menendez using the hashtag NJ Decides 2018. That thing will give me nightmares. I hope it gives you nightmares too. Up next is Sandra, who is thankful for women like Susan B. Anthony for fighting for her right to vote today using both hashtags. There's been some pictures going around on social media of people leaving I voted stickers at the grave of Susan B. Anthony. It is a pretty powerful statement and an interesting kind of spin-off of this. Stephen Bolo says that the anchor AJ sure is handsome. And he's right. Don't forget it. Mark Beal has to say there's very impressive live election coverage from the students here at Montclair State University. Mr. Beal, I agree. Moving on, we have Mario Papa. As a New Yorker going to school in New Jersey and going to stop me from voting, absentee ballots submitted. Please don't forget, if you're not in your home state because you're going to school or wherever you live, whatever the situation may be, you can always submit an absentee ballot. Vote early. Where you live should not determine your ability to vote or not. WMSC ticket giveaways saying thank you vote. Short, sweet, to the point. So we're going to keep looking at things here. We'll keep you posted. AJ, the very handsome AJ, and Kate, back to you.
Thank you so much, Pat, and thank you so much, Stephen.
Yeah. Many young people have gotten involved in politics this season for a variety of reasons. One young woman, a volunteer in Mikey Sherrill's campaign, became motivated when Donald Trump was elected president. Genesis Fuentes has the story.
Life for Najia Khan changed the night Donald Trump was elected president. Khan couldn't believe that someone who espoused negative positions on women, immigrants, and Muslims was bound for the White House.
I'm a Muslim, I'm a woman, and I am Latina, so I think that given the combination of my identities and who I am, I did not feel welcome in this country. I know a lot of people that were absolutely terrified.
Khan decided that now was the time for her to get involved. She volunteered in the campaign of Mikey Sherrill, running as a Democrat in New Jersey's 11th Congressional District.
So I had done more than enough of the sitting at my desk and reading about politics and had done very little of the active help to elect candidates that I felt deserved to serve in office and represent the American people.
As an intern, it was mostly grunt work, canvassing, assisting in the office, until one day she received the assignment of a lifetime, introducing former Vice President Joe Biden at a Sherrill rally at Montclair State.
Time to heed the words of Vice President Biden and remind ourselves that we are what is best about America is now. And so it is my greatest honor to welcome Vice President Joe Biden.
A month and a half earlier, I had just started and could not have imagined I would ever have such an opportunity, but I did, and I could not be more thankful.
Regardless of what happens election day, Khan plans on staying involved.
I want to make sure that I continue to do everything I can to have a positive impact, not only, again, on our town or our district or our state, but just the country as a whole, and to continue the fight for the preservation of American values.
This has been Genesis Fuentes from Montclair News Lab.
And right now we're going to go to Christian Curatola at the Leonard Lance campaign headquarters for the 7th District. Christian?
I'm over here at the Bob Hugin party, and candidate Bob Hugin just took the stage with his family, all signed him with an intro from his wife, where he thanked pretty much everybody, thanked everyone for coming out, and reminded everybody that he is not Bob Menendez, which seems to be the central prevailing theme of the entire room, is that people like Bob Hugin because he's not Bob Menendez. And so he leaned very much into that, as did his wife, talking about all the struggles he had in the media, and also leaning on the fact that he is a self-made politician who managed to fund his own campaign almost entirely on his own. So he reaffirmed his values, and although there are no concrete numbers, the Bob Hugin campaign was still very optimistic and very proud of the show that they've put on so far. So, unfortunately, and so now I think it's time that I have to throw it over to Becca over in the studio. So take it away, Becca.
Rebecca Eugene reporting live from the Jay Weber campaign in East Hanover, New Jersey. Jay Weber is running for the 11th Congressional District seat against Democrat Mikey Sherrill. Jay Weber is currently a state assemblyman for the 26th Legislative District in New Jersey. I'm sorry, guys. It's very loud here. And all these supporters are very excited and can't wait to see what how this campaign is going to change if he wins this election. The midterm election is very important to everybody. I've talked to many supporters who have talked about how his kitchen table issues on taxes, jobs, education reform, immigration, and border policies he has discussed it in a way that not many of these candidates have discussed it in. I like to say that he is really an exceptional candidate that many people have said. I've talked to I'm sorry, guys. I've talked to one of the voters, and she said that she is a mother, and she has heard the stances that he said, and lots of people are not looking at him in the way that they should. They see him as someone who is not going to stand for everything that he says stands for, and that she believes that is completely wrong. Back to the anchor desk. Thank you.
And we have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us tonight, going around asking different people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda?
Hi, Kate and AJ. Yes, I'm here with a journalism student at Montclair State University, Anthony Gabinelli, and he works for the Montclarian here on campus, which is the campus newspaper. Now, can you tell me a little bit about what you guys did in preparation for this election?
Sure. We did a lot of coverage with, where you students can go vote on campus, whether it's at Machuga or even with students who live in Bone Hall. They take a shuttle to someplace outside of on campus, and they go vote there, and they come right back. A charter shuttle like that. Yeah, and we also have a thing that I'm going to be doing later, right after this, actually, and go to University Hall and go see what the poli-sci kids are doing up there with the live stream of the election coverage.
Very interesting. Now, you voted today, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and did you find it very easy for students to vote on campus?
Oh, yeah. The student does a great job of, letting all the students know where to go vote, depending on where they dorm. I went to Machuga to go vote. Very easy, just a couple presses of the button, leave, get my sticker.
And when you are voting, what issues are important for you that you look for in a candidate?
I think just making everyday life easier for everyone, regardless of color, race, ethnicity, just making sure everyone is the same, just treating everyone as a human is my number one priority in a candidate. So.
And in terms of this election and this year especially, you know, a lot of kids now that are, you know, Gen Z, millennials are now able to vote. Did you find that when you were out, you saw a lot of people voting that were our age?
Oh yeah, when I was in Machuga, it was packed. Yeah, it was just, you know, we're inheriting the world, so we get to make it the best for us and best for everyone else. So, and for the future as well.
Now, when you are watching the news and looking for your different news outlets for this election, are there any certain news sites or online publications that you are looking at to get your news from?
I look at pretty much everything, whether it's, you know, something like CBS, Fox, NBC. I try to get a perspective from all angles, and then based on there, I just kind of give it my own opinion and go with that.
Sure. Now, in terms of different media, when you do watch, maybe even TV, did you find that when voting, you maybe were swayed one way or another based on political ads or people's campaigns?
I did see a lot of Bob Menendez campaign ads, so I think maybe more sway toward that. I didn't see a lot of Bob Hugin, not just me personally, but I mean, I did end up voting for Bob Menendez, so so I think I was a little swayed maybe.
And in this election especially, is there one thing that you're hoping to happen, one outcome that you would like? Again, you don't have to say political views at all, but any certain something?
I think just a change in Congress, whether it's, you know, that's just for the better. I think without, again, going into my political views, just, you know, just making it for the better for the future.
Sounds great. I think a lot of people are on the same page as you. All right, Kate and AJ, we're bringing it back to the desk.
Thank you for that, Amanda.
Yeah, and big news dropping. ABC and MSNBC News have both projected that Bob Menendez will be the winner of the New Jersey Senate race. But right now we have Bryn McDonald, who is at the Bob Menendez campaign headquarters, so let's check out what's going on there. Bryn?
Thanks, AJ. Well, you said Bob Menendez is projected to win, but we still have yet to see the polls of the New Jersey race on the TVs. Everyone is still keeping a very close eye on the polls, and as of now, 21 seats are still up in the air for Democrats to capture. In Texas, the Democrats are in the lead, and it is a very important state for the Democrats to gain control of. In West Virginia, Democrats are also in the lead. But as you can see here, people are flooding the rooms, and we are just waiting for the New Jersey race poll to come onto the TV and for Senator Menendez and his team to join us in the room. Obviously, something is happening soon. We have everyone going up on stage, and everyone is really crowding the podium in the front of the room. So we are hoping that we will get to speak with Senator Menendez soon, and we are hoping his team joins us in the great room very soon.
One of the things I wanted to ask, Bryn, how is that baby Trump balloon doing?
The baby Trump balloon is still alive and well. It seems to be a little lower flying than it was earlier, but he is definitely still flying around. I'm not sure, again, as I said, what will happen with the baby Trump balloon, but as of now, it is alive and well.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. And now we go live to Ashley Kuzakonki at Bob Hugin's headquarters. Ashley?
Yeah, so the Menendez camp falls, but you know, the Menendez keeps the seat. The Hugin camp falls, you know, to this. So we'll see what's going on there.
Well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen to that balloon.
Right. No, that is true.
When she mentioned that was there, I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, here we go.
Definitely.
But now we go to live to Katie Weirdo, who is reporting from the Montclair State University Political Science Viewing Party in Studio C.
Hi guys, I'm live here tonight with the Political Science Pre-Law Society and the College of Democrats. So, we're here live at their election night, and the students are filing in as the night goes on. I'm here with Ricky Thompson, the president of the Political Science Club. How you doing, Ricky?
I'm pretty good. Really excited for the election. See what happens.
Oh, great. Awesome. So how did you get involved with the Political Science Club?
We're actually restarting this year, so basically I reached out to Dr. Spinakos, who's the chair of the Political Science Department, and started getting members interested, started eBoard, and now we're having our first event, so I'm really excited.
Oh, wonderful. So can you tell me the process of how you got the viewing party started with all the other clubs?
So we had to reach out to the School of Communications. We're very grateful for them. They helped us basically get a room. We promoted it to all of our clubs, all the people we know, and we have a great crowd, so really excited.
Awesome. So what do you think, like, the progression of, like, this election going to be like? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
If it follows history, it's going to flip to Democrats, the House and the Senate, but who knows? The race is tight, so we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. And who do you think, like, what values do you look for in a candidate?
I would say just overall honesty. If they're able to be honest with their constituents, then I believe they're a perfect candidate.
That's good, yes. So, real quick, what do you think, with the election going the way it is, do you think more women should be in office, or like going and running for office, I should say?
I believe as long as their character is good, it shouldn't matter on their gender, just the character of the actual person. As long as it's good, I believe they should be perfect candidates.
Awesome. So, real quick, what is your, why do you think this election is so important? Like, this midterm is very high, like, volume and high, like, attention for a midterm compared to a regular election. Why do you think that?
I believe since the election of Donald Trump, it kind of like shocked everybody that, you know, a business reality star can get elected as president. So I believe it got a lot more people interested in politics.
Awesome. And I meant to ask, so what is your major at Montclair State?
My major is political science with a double minor in international security and diplomacy and criminal justice.
Oh my, wait. Whoa, that is a lot to take. Wow. So can you, real quick, so we're going to go back to the desk with AJ and Kate. Back to you guys.
Right behind Gen X, we have a group called Gen Z. Many people think that this generation will change a lot of things from politics to consuming media. Montclair State University professor Mark Beal is an expert on this topic, and he is giving us his thoughts.
So Generation Z is anyone considered who was born in 1995 or after. So your oldest Gen Zers just graduated college. They're about 22, 23, and they've joined the workforce. And then, of course, you've got Gen Zers throughout college, high school, even elementary school and grammar school. And you're right, the focus has been millennials, but the shift is happening now, both at the workplace, because now we have Gen Zers starting to work full-time, so employers have to really start to focus on how are Gen Zers different than millennials. Marketers have to realize that Gen Z is a powerful, powerful group, and they need to realize how do we market to a group that doesn't really want to be marketed to in the traditional sense. And even media companies who are putting content out there every day. You know, Gen Z does not read newspapers. Gen Z does not watch traditional television. They're not watching the 6 o'clock news, but yet they're consuming content. So even media companies have to figure out how do we create, produce, and distribute content that's compelling to this powerful group of Generation Z. My latest book, Decoding Gen Z, 101 Lessons Generation Z Will Teach Corporate America Marketers and Media. It's available exclusively on Amazon. And again, it's 101 lessons, insights from Gen Zers from age 13 to 23 from all across this country. And so if I'm a employer, if I'm a marketer, if I'm a professor at a university, if I'm media, I want to understand what this next generation is all about, because they are going to be my primary audience over the next 10, 20, 25 years as the shift away from goes away from millennials into Gen Z. We've got a few things going on in the political landscape right now. One is there's a movement, and I think it's spurred by Gen Z, to reduce the voting age to 16. It's not going to happen over the next couple of weeks, but I think it will happen one day. And again, I use that as the first example because Gen Z is really, as I put in my book, community-minded, purpose-driven, socially conscious. More so than any generation before them, I believe that Gen Z has the power to create movements using social media, using technology, where if there's an issue or even a candidate or a cause, Gen Z will rally other Gen Zers around the country to get behind that in ways I don't think we've ever seen before. I mean, I think we saw some of this after high school shootings. We saw marches and protests and rallies. I think that's just the beginning. Gen Z has the power, as one of the students in the book said, Lesson 101, Gen Z has the power to change the world, and I really do think they will. It's based on, again, the use of technology, the use of social media. If Gen Z can rally around a common passion point, and in this case, politics, election issues, whatever it might be, then all of a sudden you've got this, movement of many Gen Zers who are getting behind it and, using things like social media and content and distributing content to not just create the movement, but amplify the movement, creating kind of a surround sound effect. I mean, that's the most powerful thing that I've noticed is a lot of consistency of all the Gen Zers I talked to from age 13 to 23 is that they feel strongly about getting behind something that's important to them, important to other Gen Zers, important to society.
We have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab tonight going around asking different people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda?
I sure am, Kate and AJ. I'm actually here with TCNJ student and managing editor of the Streetlight. His name's Andrew Kofsky. Oh, Jared Kofsky. Yes. Apologies. I was talking to an Andrew earlier.
Andrew's my uncle.
Maybe he was here earlier. Now, ABC and MSNBC just projected that Bob Menendez will win. What does that mean?
Well, it's certainly very interesting to see here in the Garden State a victory by Menendez. It was expected in many of the polls, but when you look at Hugen, all the money that he poured into this race, millions and millions of dollars of his own money that he made while working at Celgene. So it's interesting to see Menendez was underfunded in this race. He didn't receive the kind of funding that many Democrats received in other states where there was lots of competition. So it's interesting to see that Hugen, despite all of the money invested in this race, he didn't manage to pull off the success that he was hoping to achieve. But it's certainly interesting that despite all of the problems that have plagued Menendez, whether the trial, even though it ended in an acquittal, that he was able to win re-election is certainly impressive.
Now let's turn the page and talk about Streetlight, right? It's this online publication and print publication where it's mostly about homelessness in Mercer County, right? Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Sure. So we've been publishing since 2010, and the goal really is to both raise awareness of homelessness in the Trenton area, and it's also to serve the community experiencing homelessness in this community. So what we basically try to do is we come out in print twice a year. The rest of the time we're online, and basically we're trying to provide resources to people who are experiencing homelessness, such as food banks, soup kitchens, places they otherwise may not know about, and we're also trying to provide that in-depth investigative reporting that may be lacking in other local media outlets. So we are comprised of a whole team here at TCNJ, and then we have a whole editorial board that comes in that's made up of community partners, and we review the articles to make sure they're really relevant to our audience, and they expose our non-traditional audience, maybe someone in a wealthier community like Princeton who might want to learn more about the homeless population in Mercer County. We really try to inform them about the crisis in this area and about people experiencing it.
Now, when it comes to this election especially, did either Menendez or Hugen seem like they were going to push homelessness and make it an issue that they were really going to focus on at all that you've noticed?
Well, it's interesting because homelessness is a huge problem in New Jersey. In fact, a recent report from Monarch Housing Associates, the 2018 point in time count, it has gone up 9% homelessness in New Jersey. But that subject never really came up at all, whether in the debates or whether in the campaign platforms. You really wouldn't know that homelessness is such a crisis in New Jersey. So we're really trying at the Streetlight to show the public why homelessness remains a crisis, but we hope that more of the political discussion can revolve around homelessness. So we're really trying to feature politicians who are making changes, making strides in regard to homelessness, but we'd hope that there were more that we can feature in our publication.
And any most recent people that you have, especially politicians that you have featured in any of the publications, online or print?
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're locally based, we try to feature local Mercer County officials. We did have an interview with Trenton Mayor Eric Jackson. He's no longer the mayor there, but we will have an interview in our next issue with the new mayor of Trenton, Riga Ciora. We're interviewing him tomorrow, and he will be in our next issue as part of our segment called The Highlight, which interviews local leaders and local community officials who are addressing the homelessness crisis.
And for this election, I know that it was very important for the Streetlight, but any other insight that you can give me?
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you take a look at it because Essex County, very blue county, but it was interesting to see in previous years, Joe DiVincenzo, the county executive, usually runs more of a campaign. This year, that really wasn't the case. There was really no campaigning by him or the county sheriff, but he should cruise to an easy victory tonight.
Great. Thank you, Jared, not Andrew. Kate and AJ, I throw it back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And up next, we have Louis Biondolillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, how's it looking over there?
How's it going, guys, at the studio? I hope everything's doing well. Here at Mikey Sherrill's campaign, the excitement is just getting started. The event is about to start in 10 minutes, and as you can see, people are filing in. Both supporters and press even are excited to see what this event is to hold and what this election is to hold. Many people are hopeful that Mikey Sherrill will win this election. We're not sure, obviously, but many of the supporters are hopeful. Moving on to some of what I talked to Mikey Sherrill about, we talked about college students and what they mean to our economy. Now, she wants to tell everybody about college students and how it really focuses in on our economy because they are our future. They're the people that are going to be into our intro jobs, our new CEOs, our new people at the top of our businesses. And she said that student debt is very troublesome to the millennials and Generation Z at this time. Here's what she had to say about that.
We have got to really take a look at student debt. It's not only harming our students, it's harming our economy. It's holding people back from buying homes and starting families. So getting the cost of college down is critically important. We should look at having students able to negotiate their loan prices like you would with a home mortgage. We also need to look at how students are getting jobs after college. Are the programs that we have going on in our New Jersey colleges really leading to the jobs that we have in our New Jersey economy? And you know, what is the future of work? Where are those good jobs, and how can we make sure that our students have access to them?
She wants everybody to know that college students is one of her main focuses of this election, and hopes that she can change these things in the future. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you for that. We have Pat Cicchetti live from the newsroom with our tweet beam giving us updates on what social media is saying about today's events. Pat? Yeah, well, we're going to go back to the tweet beam in just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. But
we got some stuff here on the on the desk that we really want to share with you all.
So they announced that the Indiana Senate seat has flipped to the Republicans, Mike Braun taking that seat from Joe Donnelly. And also, former Bill Clinton cabinet member Donna Shalala has been elected to the U.S. House in Florida.
And we're going to now go to Pat Cicchetti live from the newsroom with our tweet beam, giving us updates on what social media is saying about today. Pat?
You're live? Hi, guys. This is the tweet beam here. We are watching Twitter, watching the hashtags MSU decides and NJ decides as people tweet about the election, what they've been thinking, what they've been doing. We get to see it here and watch what's happening in real time. Alexandra Alice wants you to vote no on one of the questions and is worried about where the money allotted in the question is going to go. That's a fair concern. Shazel with a Christmas theme, who is obviously still working on updating the full Christmas branding in his Twitter handle, is let's get this Bob, in this case Bob Menendez, because they're both named Bob. Going on, we have Elizabeth Harmon, who is very concerned about the Republicans' attitude toward health care. Going on, we have Henry Wang, who used a bunch of hashtags and voted so hard that he cut off his own head. It's a real shame, but at least he got a vote in before I don't know. Anyway, Molly Jean on Twitter talking about getting the blue wave going. S Morningstar is also keeping the blue wave moving with their selection of lawn signs for, it looks like Mickey Sherrill, although I'm not sure if Mount Olive encompasses that. In the words of many Twitter users, don't at me. Anyway, going on, we have Tim voting for the candidates who will abolish jug handle turns and let me pump my own gas. Listen, Tim, I'm going to tell you something, Tim. You don't speak for everybody, Tim. I like other people pumping my gas for me, Tim. I like to not get out of the car, Tim. So next time you're on Twitter, Tim, try to think about people other than yourself. Anyway, moving on, we have Eddie Guerra, who voted and wants to make sure that you do too. He tagged Blue Wave 2018, hopefully keeping that momentum going. He'll be happy about that. Alexandra Alice, once again, this should be a rule. If you campaign for people to vote, did she link something? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff there. It got cut off. What I do know is her eyeliner is on point, even though I don't know what she's saying. That'd be enough for me. NJTV Tech Manager, 40 seconds to the show. NJTV thinks they're slick at using our hashtags, but you're with us, so you're with the better channel. AJ and Kate, back to you.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pat. So, just a quick correction. It's Donna Shalala. So
we said Shalala.
Yeah, I mispronounced the name, so that's my bad. Donna Shalala was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, and
in Florida.
That was in Florida, correct. And you know what? We have seen a big shift in the Indiana Senate race. Like I mentioned before, Joe Donnelly got unseated in that race by Mike Braun, so that was a very big race because it's giving the Republicans an extra seat that they could, if they lose sort of a seat that they already had, now they have like a buffer seat. So that was big for the Republicans to maintain control of the Senate.
But for now, it's
going to be. We're just about getting to the top of the hour here on our
on our lovely
show here. So,
but when we come back, we will have Bryn McDonald at Menendez headquarters, and maybe we'll check in on that balloon. Who knows? But all of that when we come back. We are back with NJ Decides, and right now we have Bryn McDonald at Bob Menendez campaign headquarters with an interview from an MSU alumni. Bryn?
Thanks, Kate. We made our way down to the floor of the Menendez headquarters, and we are here with Josh Firestone, who is actually a former Montclair State student. He is now an alumni, and Josh is here supporting Bob Menendez. Josh, how do you feel about the vibe in this room, the atmosphere, everything about it?
Everybody is really happy to be here. It's very excited, supporting hopefully our next senator, and we're really excited to support the change that's going to happen and around everybody who's trying to drive change.
Now, Josh, you said that you are actually a teacher. How do you feel about Senator Menendez's plans to support schools and teachers?
Yeah, I'm very happy with what his attitude is towards the teachers. I think that the progress is just about to come around the corner for New Jersey and Jersey City all together, and I'm looking forward to the future here.
All right, Josh, thanks very much. And as I'm sure you heard, there are cheers all around the room as people witness Democrats winning state by state. We will continue to check back in with you. Kate and AJ, we're heading back to you.
And now we go live to Ashley Kuzakonki at Bob Hugin's headquarters. Ashley, how's it going?
Hey guys, yeah, weirdest thing just actually happened here at the Stagehouse Tavern. So all of a sudden on the TVs, we saw that Hugin was winning by 19,000 points. He was up 55. Menendez was down 44. And then all of a sudden the TVs just turned off. So rumor has it that the restaurant here was actually going for Menendez. And because, you know, there was just so much cheer for that, they actually turned it off. That's one of the rumors here. And now, you know, we have one of the speakers up on the stage right now, and he's just talking about Hugin and the campaign. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and listen in over here, and back to you guys at the anchor desk.
Thank you, Ashley. Now let's go to Professor Mark Rosenwig in Studio A.
My guest is Stephanie Murray. She's the director of the Center of Cooperative Media here at Montclair State University. And welcome to Election Night 18.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. Exciting night.
It is. And I wanted to find out about the Center for Cooperative Media and what your mission is and how it relates to election night coverage here at Montclair State and throughout the state.
Sure, absolutely. So the Center for Cooperative Media is a grant-funded organization. We're based here within the School of Communication and Media. We are just about 6 years old this year. We turned 6. And we run several projects, mostly focused on the state of New Jersey, although we have some national projects. So our flagship program is the New Jersey News Commons. That's what we're most proud of. That's our network of news organizations across the state. So it includes 250, 260 news organizations now and about 40 to 50 freelancers. So we facilitate that network, and that involves communication, training, professional development, collaborative projects, and those are the people we turn to on nights like tonight to help them cover the elections in their local communities and connect them together so that we can get some benefit of a statewide collaboration on big events like today.
So how does that manifest itself? In other words, you have people who are here. A few of them might join me on the program later.
Yes.
But you know, what's the value? How's it set up? And maybe you'll get a few members tonight too.
Yeah,
a few new members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The News Commons. You want to know about the News Commons?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So news organizations apply to be part of the News Commons, and we take newsrooms or news organizations or journalists who adhere to a few different criteria. We require everyone to agree to abide by commonly accepted ethics code, which is important. Where they have to agree to our community standards, and they have to produce original content. So once they're in the News Commons, they get access to our programs and what we offer through Montclair State, through the center here. So on a night like tonight, we solicited across the News Commons and said, first of all, does anyone need a place to work? because we've got beautiful facilities here at the university, and we'll be running an open newsroom tonight. And so that's actually how this event got started, was our election night open newsroom. We wanted to provide space.
I remember that. You were in a small area in Schmidt Hall, and it was real grassroots in those days.
Very grassroots.
Yeah.
So it really was just, hey, does anyone, especially independent journalists, do you need a place to work on election night? Come here. We'll give you space. And so we still do that today, but we've really expanded this. And so we solicit them to find out, do you need a place to work? 2, do you have some expertise that you'd be willing to share on our television program tonight? We also ask them to help populate New Jersey Spotlight's election map. So the election map shows results at the county level across the state.
And hopefully we're going to have John Mooney from Spotlight join us later in the program.
He's been an excellent partner of the News Commons and the Center over the years. Yeah, absolutely. So the Associated Press traditionally does maps across the country, and those are the ones that are most relied on, but they're expensive. It's expensive to get access to AP's full suite of election tools. And so NJ Spotlight years ago started creating its own election map that anyone in the state could embed for free. And so a lot of independent journalists use that, smaller publications, and so we help provide the content for that map. We have people come here, and they're really just looking at what's happening in the different precincts and inputting the results, and that populates the map that's used across the state.
How much interest, what's the volume of political coverage this year? Is it more than usual?
Yes. It is. So the last, the last big election for us really here in the state was when Murphy was elected. And the center, we were pretty involved in coverage that year.
The governor, that was last year. It seems like a long time ago.
It seems like it was years ago. But so we started coordinating among the New Jersey News Commons members in late 2015 and started a project in early 2016 called Voting Block. And during that cycle, Mark, it was interesting because I would have thought there'd be a lot of coverage, and we were trying to spur coverage. But we saw a lot of voter apathy in different areas of the state because there was an assumption that the Democratic candidate would win because of everything that had happened with the previous governor, Chris Christie. Mm-hmm. So I thought there'd be more this last year, but there really has been a lot more this year. And it really comes down to the fact that what's happening in Washington, D.C., and how that's mobilizing voters. And there are, every House seat is up in the state of New Jersey. And those House seats have big impacts on communities across our state. So the coverage this year has been pretty intense.
Can local individuals find out how their area is being covered by going to your website and getting connected to some of these partners that are reporting locally?
Yes, there are a couple ways to do that. First of all, obviously tonight I would encourage you to go to NJ Spotlight's website and look at the live elections map. You can zero right in on your place. Mm-hmm. But I would also encourage folks to visit centerforcooperativemedia.org, come to our site, look under our New Jersey News Commons page. You can actually also go to newjerseynewscommons.org, njnewscommons.org, and we have a full list and a map of all the news outlets in the state. So it's really easy for you to find who covers your local area. And I would encourage people to sign up for their newsletters, subscribe if they offer a subscription, do whatever you can to not only consume local news produced in your community, but help support local news produced in your community too.
Stephanie, thanks a lot. I appreciate your input, and it kind of sets us up, tees it up for the evening. So
great.
Good to talk with you.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Mark.
And right now we're going to go back to the News Lab for more coverage.
So now we're going to go to Christian Curatolo, who's at Leonard Land / Bob Hugin campaign headquarters. And Christian, what's it looking like over there?
Hi, I'm over at the Bob Hugin campaign right now.
God save your president. Joined by, what's your name, sir?
Will Needham. Joined by Will over here, and Will is an avid fan of Bob Hugin.
Go Bob.
But you're also a fan of a lot of other people that run this country.
We love the President of the United States. God save him.
And so how do you feel currently about the mood in the building right now?
Listen, it's a very difficult state to run in. Clearly, the status quo is appropriate. If you like high debt, you vote Democrat. I mean, where do you think that the state of New Jersey has the right to constantly and perpetually run a deficit? Is it appropriate that taxpayers front that burden in perpetuity?
So what do you think about as you know, there was a point earlier in the night where the TVs all turned to basketball. How do you feel about the fact that there was a rumor going around that the bar did that because they heard that Menendez had a projected win?
That's a great question because only a college, young liberal college, uneducated individual would ask such a silly question like that. So the answer, omnipresent, that he.
Okay, and now we go live to Katie Weirdo, who is reporting from the Montclair State University Political Science Viewing Party in Studio C.
Hey guys, so I'm here with Emily Falcioni, who is the president of the College Democrats Club here on Montclair State University. So Emily, what is your major?
I'm a poli-sci major with a double minor in economics and international security and diplomacy.
Can I just say, every political science person I interview, like, you guys amaze me with your double majors, minors. Oh my goodness. So anyway, why is this election so important to you?
I want to see more bipartisan movements in Congress, in House, in our government in general. I want to see more progressiveness in our country.
Yes. Awesome. So can I ask you about your pin right here? So you're supporting, I'm guessing, Mikey Sherrill?
Yes, I am.
So what values in her do you want as a candidate? Like, why did you choose her?
I mean, I think that we need more women in power in Congress and government, and just more women's rights and to represent all rights.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to head back to the desk.
And right now we have Bryn McDonald at Menendez's campaign headquarters. Let's check in to see what's going on there. Bryn?
Thanks, Kate. And the cheers continue to get louder as each state is announced. I am here with Brindell. She is actually a volunteer from the Menendez campaign. Brindell, can you tell me a little bit about how it was working on a campaign, especially one of this magnitude?
Honestly, it was pretty, I don't know how to explain it, like liberating as much as it was very stressful, because, you know, we don't want to let some Republican, to be honest, or his opponent to win. So, I mean.
Okay, and which one of Bob Menendez's platforms are you most passionate about and do you care the most about?
Honestly, his platform for immigrants, not like for his immigrants, because, you know, his family is an immigrant family, and he even resided in Union City, which has actually like a lot of immigrant families. To be like, I know some people that live there that are still working towards their getting their green card, and also even in Jersey City.
Okay, and we are going to go to Ashley in Bob Hugin's headquarters.
Hi guys, yeah, so it was just called that Menendez did win. So everybody here, they're making an announcement right now, but everybody here, they got a little bit bummed out, but you know, the party's still going on. So somebody is speaking up right now at the stage, so we're just listening in right now. She's just basically saying, thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate all the support. And that's all that we have for now. So back to you guys at the anchor desk.
Thank you. We have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us tonight, going around asking people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda?
Kate and AJ, I'm here with Sean Quinn. He's a student at NJCU, and his role tonight is basically monitoring all of, I believe you were monitoring CNN before, right?
I was following this live report here from the Hudson County elections here. So as you can see from the bottom, this is the House of Representatives 10th District. If you can see, Donald Payne Jr. has a wide margin lead so far with 7,721 votes. There's nothing on the 9th District thus far with anyone. And then you scroll up to the 8th District. Albie Osiris has a giant lead also with over 8,000 votes. And then the one that most people have been concerned with is the race between Menendez and Bob Hugin. And Menendez has a very wide margin by over 20,000 votes so far. And I saw on one of the TVs up here that he's projected to win the Senate again.
Now, in terms of this election especially, we've been talking about it all night. The magnitude of it is through the roof. Why is it so important to vote today or vote earlier today?
Because I think a lot of people don't realize just how important is elections like these are, because oftentimes you expect just the presidential election to be the one that people pay attention to, but the president only has so much power, and then as you go along and look at these midterm elections, the Senate is also the one who makes a lot of decisions that will impact us. So it's very important for you to select the senator who you feel best represents your state and can help you, and also either aid the president in doing better and prevent the president from doing anything that you wouldn't want them to do. So it's very important for you to become civically engaged, to learn about this, to vote in midterm elections.
Now, I know that they just claimed that Bob Menendez has won again. And when it comes to this, what are you hoping comes out of it? You don't have to give me any of your political views, but is there something that you're hoping the end goal is, the meat is, whether that he does or even the House ends up doing?
I can only hope that Menendez, should he win the Senate, does the best he can for the state of New Jersey and does the best that he can for the people of New Jersey. And that's all I really could ask of him.
Thank you, Sean. Kate and AJ, we're going back to you at the desk.
Thank you so much. But now we're going to Dominique Jackson live at Tom Malinowski's campaign headquarters. Dominique, what's going on?
Right now I'm here at Berkeley Heights, and the mood in the room is very energetic, very ecstatic. A lot of people are over here talking, conversing. A lot of people are wearing Tom Malinowski campaign shirts, and the energy in the room is very exciting. You keep hearing cheers and shouts. Anytime Tom Malinowski is shown on screen, they're doing a live feed of some of the news channels, and anytime he's on screen, there's a lot of cheers, a lot of talking. It seems that there's a very great, very positive energy here. So as we await the election results, I'll keep checking in. But for a little bit about Tom Malinowski, he actually was born and raised in Poland, and he came to the U.S. with his mother when he was about 6 years old, actually. And he was promised an American dream, and he felt as if that promise was being fulfilled up until about the 2016 presidential election, where President Trump was elected president. And he states that he wants to continue the American dream. So that's why he's running for Congress. And his campaign is Reject Fear. And he wants his voters, his supporters, to reject fear by having a voice, going to the voting polls and speaking up about issues that they want to see change in the government system and politics in general, just to have their voice be heard. So we'll see if he wins the race and if that is to be in the future. So also a little bit more about, he's a former assistant for Secretary of State for Human Rights and Obama's top state representative for women, workers, and human rights. For now, we're going to go back to the studio.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dominique.
So in some national news right now, talking about our sisters right across the Hudson, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
New York had some projections that came out. New
The
York
city
governor
named twice.
city so nice they named it twice. New York, New York. Kirsten Gillibrand, excuse me, was projected to win the Senate seat, so she maintains her Senate seat. And as of right now, CNN has projected New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to be reelected as the governor of New York, who is a Democrat, so the Democrats maintain those two seats.
And just a recap from the rest of the hour, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat, has defeated his Republican contender, Patrick Morris.
Right, so that was a big seat. It was up for, another seat that was sort of a toss-up for a little bit there, but Manchin started to pull away and wound up winning the seat, and so Manchin held the seat prior, so it was just another seat that the Democrats kept.
And one more thing, the Kentucky Representative Andy Barr, a Republican, he has defeated Democrat Amy McGrath,
right?
A former Marine combat aviator. So
that's another.
That is in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah, that's another win for the Republicans, though. And you got to remember, right now the polls are showing that the Democrats have gained 2 seats in the House, but they have to gain 23 in order to take control of the House. So that's important to remember. As of right now, they've gained 2. But 2 isn't really.
The night is yet young, and we will see.
isn't putting the dent that they really need right now. So, yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to keep seeing what's going on in these races. We still got Florida, which is a big race. It's a purple state. And
right now we're going to throw to Louis Bondolillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. We want to see how it's going over there. How is it, Louis?
I can't hear you if you're talking to me. I hear you shouting. I don't hear you, though.
Okay.
Sorry about that. We're having a little bit of
Technical
issues with
difficulties.
Louis over there. But you know what? That's important. To bring this back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
We're starting to get
let's bring it home.
Right. We're starting to get these House polls in. We're seeing right now in the 2nd Congressional District, in the last polls that I've seen, the Republican is leading in that race, but that's still too early to call. We see that the Republican's leading in the NJ 3rd, but again, too early to call.
And for New Jersey's 2nd Congressional District, just so everybody knows, it is Senator Jeff Van Drew and Seth Grossman.
Right, State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Right, and Seth Grossman, who is a lawyer and a very big Trump supporter, so we'll see that. But this comes in. CNN projects that Republican Marsha Blackburn will win the Senate seat in Tennessee. So that's another big national story that's breaking. And, the night's still young, though, so seats are falling.
We will be here.
And we'll be here, help you through it all, But like I was saying, to get back to New Jersey, that's a really big thing. So we're going to go quickly to Rebecca Eugene at the Jay Weber campaign headquarters and see what's going on there.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Eugene at the Jay Weber campaign in East Hanover, New Jersey. And the number of people are slowly decreasing, but the confidence is staying the same. Everyone is saying that they're confident that he will win, and they're keeping positive. We have no predictions of when Jay Weber will be coming out, but we are told that he will be out soon. Jay Weber has made his campaign very important to taxes, jobs, immigration, border policies, and education reform. He has received an award for small businesses as well from the National Federation of Interest in Businesses as well. He has made sure that his stances are clear, and he has drawn a line in his candidacy that he will support throughout his running. He has also said that even though he is supported by Trump, President Trump, and does disagree with some things he says, he does agree with most of the things he says. Similar to his immigration policy on the wall, building a wall. He states that for border control that we should have more physical presence, drones, and other electronic means to make sure that we stay protected as a country and we stay as one. He loves that we, as an American, the dream constant. Having this dream is important to him. He has talked about it through his family values of having 7 kids, marrying his wife, Joanna. And back to the studio we go. Thank you very much.
We have Louis Bondolillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, how is it looking over there now?
Hey guys, so we're here at Mikey Sherrill's campaign, and we're here with a Mikey Sherrill supporter, as you all can see. So we just wanted to ask you a few questions for the behalf of Montclair. So why do you support Mikey Sherrill? What does she mean to you? And what do these midterms mean in general for you?
Well, this started as our effort, New Jersey 11 for Change effort, to get Rodney Frelinghuysen to be responsive to his constituents. And when it became clear that was not going to happen, he was ignoring us. He was paying more attention to retaining his chairmanship of the Appropriations Committee. We decided it was time for him to go. And once Mikey Sherrill stepped up, she was a fabulous candidate, a rock star, you might say. Navy pilot, liaison to the Russian Navy, prosecutor, mother of 4. She's like the whole package. And she's, I agree with her positions. She's a breath of fresh air, and she's going to help provide checks and balances in Washington, which are sorely missing right now.
So what do these midterms mean in general as a whole? Not just Mikey Sherrill, but the whole midterms in general.
Well, it's our opportunity to regain our democracy, which I think is under attack by, first of all, President Trump attacking journalism, and it's being allowed by the complicity of the legislative branch, which is supposed to provide a check and balance, and the Republicans are doing nothing.
Well, you guys heard it here from Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Back to you guys at the desk.
We have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us tonight, going around asking different people what their thoughts are on the 2018 midterm elections.
But Kate, before we go to that, we do have breaking news about a New Jersey congressional race. Donald Norcross, a New Jersey Democrat, has been reelected in the 1st Congressional District.
Oh, I'm from the 1st Congressional District.
Look at
Hi,
you.
Cherry Hill.
But yeah, we do have Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us, so we're going to go to Amanda. What's going on in the News Lab, Amanda?
Hey guys, everything's great. Thank you for that tip. I'm actually here with associate professor or assistant professor. We kept saying that before, Thomas Franklin. And I'm just curious, why do you think it's very important to vote, especially today?
Well, I think it's always important to vote, but I thought that this year in particular, there were a couple of key races. I was watching the Menendez-Hugin race very carefully. I'm happy that, Menendez looks like he's going to be declared the winner. But that was a race that was in our face 24/7, and it really got me thinking about the need for campaign reform. I mean, Hugin was spending millions and millions of dollars of his own money, which obviously is a huge advantage for him, but also the fact that there was like so much defamatory aspects to his campaign, and it was just in our face. It was relentless. I can never remember another candidate who was so omnipresent. And, I think, think about all those millions of dollars that he spent for all these ads, what good that money could have been put towards. I think that if there was a plan in place to limit spending during the campaign season, it would also not be so, overbearing for the public. On the other hand, I think that money could be put to better use.
Now, you've been in news for a long time. I want to say probably over 30 years, we were discussing earlier. Now, you've never seen a race, one as close as this, but two like this, you said.
Well, I've seen races close like this, but like I said, this race was in our face 24/7 for months now. And Hugin, spent a lot of money on ads. I mean, every time I'd log onto my computer, there would be an ad there. Certainly every time you turn the TV on. There was a football game I was watching this weekend. I think there were 3 Hugin ads in a row, and then a Menendez ad, and it was just too much. It was really, at some point, enough is enough.
Now, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but in your eyes, or maybe in many other people's eyes, do you think that Hugin maybe got this idea from somebody else that might be political, hinting?
Yeah, well, look, Trump has really changed the rules for everybody. We've seen, an acceptance or an apparent acceptance of a lot of crap now. And I think that this election is how it's going to be from here on out, unfortunately. I don't like it this way. I read a story in the paper today about 2 candidates running for a local office in Morris County, and they were like best friends. And one was a Democrat and one was a Republican. It was a cool story, right? And I think, a degree of civility would be really refreshing, in election days in the future. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen.
And you have kids, correct?
I have a son who's in college, yeah. So I made sure he voted. I was happy that when my wife and I went to vote this morning, they had his name in the book, which I had never seen before. So he had mailed in his ballot, and I'm glad that he did.
And how important is it for this younger generation and wave of kids coming in to vote in a midterm or any election?
Well, look, it's really important that everybody votes for obvious reasons, but I think there is a feeling of apathy, particularly amongst young people. I see it in my class when I talk to students about this. We don't talk about politics in my classes. We're talking multimedia mostly, but I get the sense from students that they feel like they're powerless in it, and I think there's a certain level of what's the right word? I think the skepticism among young people that, hey, if the president can get away with, grabbing women by their private parts and can have affairs and it's not just the president, but, I think that when those kinds of situations are reported and nothing happens as a result of it, well, it sends a signal that, the system is not working or the system is not really fair or it's just really messed up.
Almost giving these kids a voice that they didn't really have before, almost.
Yeah, it feeds into the feeling of apathy and powerlessness. I think everybody in this election, particularly if you're on the Democratic side, feels a level of powerlessness because, it seems like there's a new executive order every day, that challenges the Constitution. And, when that happens, I think it really questions, questions are asked about, the legitimacy of, the way the government's set up.
And in terms of when you look for a candidate and somebody that's running, what are some important issues to you?
That's a great question. I look for character. I mean, I think that here Mikey Sherrill was one of the best new candidates I've seen in decades, and I thought that she was an outstanding candidate.
Well, thank you very much. AJ and Kate, we're throwing it back to you.
So much.
Thank you, Amanda.
So, really quick, some New Jersey news. 4th Congressional District, Republican Chris Smith has held on to his seat. In the 6th District, New Jersey Democrat Frank Pallone was re-elected to Congress. And in the 10th District, Donald Payne Jr., also Democrat, was re-elected to office. So 3 incumbents winning in the state of New Jersey. So no real big shift happening there, but just the incumbents taking their seats back.
Just giving the updates as usual.
Yes.
So usual.
So New Jersey is looking like it's starting to fall.
So
we'll see how that goes. It's starting to fall one seat after the next, and we have the contentious seats, but we'll see how those fall later, as it's too close to call still right now.
As we come back right after this. Right now, we have Bryn McDonald at Bob Menendez's campaign headquarters. Let's check in to see what's going on there. Bryn?
Thanks, Kate. As you can see, we have a huge crowd of Menendez supporters. They are all wearing... They are all wearing their white Bob Menendez 2018 t-shirts, and we are just anticipating Bob Menendez coming out to speak to the crowd. A couple TV stations have already called the race in New Jersey in favor of Bob Menendez, but we are still waiting on official results. We're going to give it back to you, Kate and AJ.
Thank you, Bryn.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, that camp looks quite excited. That's the most action we've seen from a camp so far.
I mean, when you have a baby balloon floating around, we will check it on the Trump.
We're definitely going to check back in on that baby Trump balloon and see what they're going to do over there. And it's kind of interesting to see the fact that this is what a winning camp looks like. So we'll see throughout which other camps are going to look like that, and then what the sad camps, of the losing candidates are going to look like.
We will check in with that for sure.
Definitely.
And along with New Jersey races, Bridget Harrison talked to us about the U.S. election as well and how it will affect our nation.
Well, there are a couple of things. First off, everyone is concerned with how the House and the Senate will break down, right? There's the idea that perhaps if Democrats are able to capture the House or the Senate or both, that may kind of thwart the Trump agenda. It also may mean that Mr. Trump is looking at 2020 and congressional races beyond with perhaps a more moderated stance. If Republicans are able to keep control of both the House and Senate, that empowers President Trump. It makes him more bold in terms of both his rhetoric and his policies. So those are important things. Another thing that we're looking at is the outcome of these gubernatorial elections. In New Jersey, we don't have a gubernatorial election, but so many states there are competitive elections. In fact, there are many more competitive elections this year than there have been probably in about 2 decades. So there's the question of whether this blue wave that has been talked about, kind of a reaction against President Trump, is going to make gubernatorial elections in traditionally red states more competitive. Finally, another thing is that state legislatures are up for grabs. Now, why should we care about the outcome of state legislative races throughout the country? When we were talking earlier about the competitiveness of House races, in some states, the state legislative composure is what designs the maps going into House races. That is, they're the folks who get to decide what a congressional district looks like. And so the outcome of those state legislative races may have a very strong bearing on what the districts look like when members of the House of Representatives go to run for re-election in 2022, which would be the first election after reapportionment and redistricting. So the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, I think, mobilized a segment of the voting population. For some people, like some New Jerseyans who are choosing a U.S. senator one of the takeaways is that the composition of the Senate matters, right? It matters because the Senate is so closely divided. If you agree with President Trump, then you want more Republicans in the U.S. Senate. If you don't agree with President Trump and you opposed the Kavanaugh nomination, then you want more Democrats in the U.S. Senate. And so I think that for some people, that becomes the determining issue about how they're casting their vote for the U.S. Senate. For other people, and I think it's a smaller segment of the population, but primarily women, and particularly women who they themselves have either been victims of sexual assault or harassment, this has been a really galvanizing issue, and they're going to the polls with the express purpose of voting for candidates who support measures that would penalize sexual offenders or oppose people like Mr. Kavanaugh, who was alleged to have committed a crime.
And now we go live to Katie Weirdo, who is reporting from Montclair State University Political Science Viewing Party in Studio C.
Hi, so who am I here with? Who am I speaking to right now?
Hi, my name is Joe Amditis. I'm the Associate Director of the Center for Cooperative Media here at Montclair State University, and I'm sort of running the election results map here at this wild bonanza we're doing here tonight.
Awesome. So CNN is reporting that Bob Menendez is winning or going to win, has the most votes. Is that what you're also seeing on your maps today?
Yeah, so we are seeing indications of that. Again, a lot of the county clerk's offices that have been reporting these results are coming out very slowly. Our volunteers, as you can see behind us back there, scurrilously jotting down all the results as they come in from each of the counties. But some of them haven't come in yet, but it does seem to be pointing towards Menendez as the victor over Hugen.
Gotcha. So can you tell me more about this electoral map? How does it work?
Yeah, so NJ Spotlight is a nonprofit newsroom in New Jersey, and they put these things together every year, every election that we have, and they rely on us. We partner with them, and what we do is we go to each county clerk website, and we pull all the numbers that they are reporting, and we put them into these spreadsheets, these shared Google Sheets, which then feeds the maps that you see up on the big screen. You've seen it earlier on the broadcast. Those maps then get shared and embedded for free across news sites around New Jersey. Think of it like the Associated Press live results map, except specifically for New Jersey and free. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot cheaper than an AP.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to ask you next is how many volunteers do you have today with you?
Well, I'll tell you how many I was supposed to have and how many canceled or how many showed up. No, I think we have about enough for about each person to take 2 counties. So right now there's 21 counties in New Jersey. We have just around 10 or 11 volunteers who are dedicated to the maps alone. And then we have other people who have been on camera interviewing and talking to folks behind the scenes. And people are also coming and going too. They're doing anything they can, and they use this as an open newsroom, as we call it. So they can do work here. They can help us with the maps. We have some folks from Social Justice Group here for this watch party who are actually just jumped in and helping us as well. So it's a group effort, and it's a little bit fluid.
Awesome. So I want to ask, has there anything on the map that's been like shocking to you that was like expecting like a red state or a red county compared to a blue county that flipped over, or anything interesting like that you've seen on the map?
Well, I'd say as far as the public ballot question, right now, the last time I checked, it seemed to be split almost perfectly down the middle between yes or no. And that's not exactly surprising insofar as not a lot of people had a lot of information about this ballot question going in. In fact, I think you can ask most people off the street what the ballot question is, and they wouldn't know. So we can expect to see that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to head back to the anchor desk. Take it away, guys.
Thank you. And we wanted to reiterate that 4, 6, and 10 districts, 4, 6, and 10 were called.
Right, all for the incumbent, but the tighter races haven't been called yet, and we'll get you more information on that. But for now, we're going to Christian Curatola, who's at the Leonard Lance / Hugen campaign headquarters for the 7th District.
Let's see how he's doing.
Yeah, let's see if he's okay. Christian, you all right?
Low jam the whole time, but it's just sad people getting progressively drunker, which only makes them more sad. All in all, the entire thing seems to be a bust. After the first Menendez predicted victory, things went down. Then a woman walked up on stage. Unfortunately, nobody bothered to give her any proper announcements and say that she said that their numbers still said that they had a chance of winning. Then more news started coming in saying that it was all over and that Menendez had won and he was a projected winner. So then the head of the New Jersey Republicans Committee came on, and he started talking about how their numbers were right. But then more people just started coming in. And honestly, depression, failure, and alcohol are terrible, terrible combinations. So we're here now just kind of walking around trying to find anything, but it's really hard to find a smile anywhere in this whole bar/restaurant. But we're making do. And you know what? I'm having a good time. So and things are just really trying to go on as the slow jams and the Toby Keith carry us through. But all in all, it's a lot of people not standing up straight. A lot of people not standing up straight in the middle of a dance floor that has no dancing. People are doing their best. So I guess from the center of depression, back to you, Kate and AJ.
Thank you so much, Christian, for that great input. But now we have Dominique Jackson, who's live at the Tom Malinowski campaign headquarters. See what's going on over there. Dominique?
It's getting busier and busier at the moment. More people keep arriving. The screams, the yelling, the shouts keep coming through. But for a little bit more on the midterm election, in case anyone needs to be informed, the president's party almost always loses seats in both houses of Congress. The loss can change the party in control of the legislature, and based on who wins this election, impacts the president's ability to pursue an agenda during the second half of his or her term. And that is why Tom Malinowski states, and I quote, "The reason I'm running for Congress is because the things I fought for our country are now at risk at home," end quote. So as we're still here, more people keep bustling in, and the atmosphere gets livelier and livelier as we go through the night. And we have people conversing, people coming in and out, so we're going to keep checking in. But right now, we're going to go back to the studio.
We have Pat Giacchetti live from the newsroom with our tweet beam, giving us updates on what social media is saying about today's events. Pat?
Thanks, guys. So as New Jersey's race starts to wind down, we're still following the hashtags MSU Decides 2018 and NJ Decides 2018. If you have anything you want to say about it on Twitter, please use those hashtags, and we will show you on this lovely, lovely tweet beam screen here. Haral Patel says, wait, so you're telling me that Bob Menendez might actually win? He might. It's getting pretty close. Truly Us says she wants to make NJ great again. Sorry, I mean, hashtag vote red with an NJ made out of hearts. Unfortunately, none of those hearts are blue to reflect the predictions that we've seen so far. AJ Malillo, who is not content to stay in his scene, is now on the tweet beam as well, saying Election Day is my Super Bowl. I'm so excited to find out what NJ decides, but he's that good. I can't be mad. He's here too. So let's send it back to them right now at the desk. AJ and Kate, back to you guys.
Okay.
Hi, guys, and we just got thank you, Pat, but we just got a big thing that the Fox News has called that the House is going to the Democrats. So we'll see if that projection's correct and see how it pans out. But
now we go live to Rebecca Eugene at Jay Weber's campaign headquarters. Rebecca?
Hi. Jay Weber has just came out and he's giving a speech to everyone. The confidence within the room is electric. Everyone is excited. They're happy to see him. You can feel the support as you hear the cheers. Everybody is excited to see him. As you can see, he's out there with his family and 7 kids and his wife, Joanna. It's electric, guys. It's really hectic out here, but it's really an amazing feeling, actually. As you can see, everybody's attentive, everybody's focused, everybody's excited to hear what he has to say. Look at his beautiful family. And back to you guys at the...
Thank you so much.
We just wanted to make a quick announcement that Fox News is saying the House of Representatives is now flipped Democrat.
But CNN has said that the House is still too close to call, so we'll see which way this is going to lean throughout the rest of the night. But for right now, we do have a brief interview as Gen X is the group.
Right, and I learned today that I'm not a millennial, actually.
Right,
but many people think that this generation will change a lot of things from politics to consuming media. Montclair State University professor Mark Beal is an expert on this topic, and he is giving us his thoughts.
Right.
So Generation Z is anyone considered who was born in 1995 or after.
So your oldest Gen Zers just graduated college. They're about 22, 23, and they've joined the workforce. And then, of course, you've got Gen Zers throughout college, high school, even elementary school and grammar school. And you're right, the focus has been millennials, but the shift is happening now, both at the workplace, because now we have Gen Zers starting to work full-time, so employers have to really start to focus on how are Gen Zers different than millennials. Marketers have to realize that Gen Z is a powerful, powerful group, and they need to realize how do we market to a group that doesn't really want to be marketed to in the traditional sense. And even media companies who are putting content out there every day. You know, Gen Z does not read newspapers. Gen Z does not watch traditional television. They're not watching the 6 o'clock news, but yet they're consuming content. So even media companies have to figure out how do we create, produce, and distribute content that's compelling to this powerful group of Generation Z. My latest book, Decoding Gen Z, 101 Lessons Generation Z Will Teach Corporate America Marketers and Media. It's available exclusively on Amazon. And again, it's 101 lessons, insights from Gen Zers from age 13 to 23 from all across this country. And so if I'm a employer, if I'm a marketer, if I'm a professor at a university, if I'm media, I want to understand what this next generation is all about, because they are going to be my primary audience over the next 10, 20, 25 years as the shift away from goes away from millennials into Gen Z. We've got a few things going on in the political landscape right now. One is there's a movement, and I think it's spurred by Gen Z, to reduce the voting age to 16. It's not going to happen over the next couple of weeks, but I think it will happen one day. And again, I use that as the first example because Gen Z is really, as I put in my book, community-minded, purpose-driven, socially conscious. More so than any generation before them, I believe that Gen Z has the power to create movements using social media, using technology, where if there's an issue or even a candidate or a cause, Gen Z will rally other Gen Zers around the country to get behind that in ways I don't think we've ever seen before. I mean, I think we saw some of this after high school shootings. We saw marches and protests and rallies. I think that's just the beginning. Gen Z has the power, as one of the students in the book said, Lesson 101, Gen Z has the power to change the world, and I really do think they will. It's based on, again, the use of technology, the use of social media. If Gen Z can rally around a common passion point, and in this case, politics, election issues, whatever it might be, then all of a sudden you've got this movement of many Gen Zers who are getting behind it and using things like social media and content and distributing content to not just create the movement, but amplify the movement, creating kind of a surround sound effect. And that's the most powerful thing that I've noticed, is a lot of consistency of all the Gen Zers I talked to from age 13 to 23, is that they feel strongly about getting behind something that's important to them, important to other Gen Zers, important to society.
Right now we have Bryn McDonald at Bob Menendez's campaign headquarters. Let's see what's going on over there. Bryn?
Well, AJ, as you can hear, the chants are rampant at the Menendez headquarters in Hoboken. Joining us now is Steve Minetti, a longtime supporter and friend of Bob Menendez. Steve, can you tell me a little bit about what a victory tonight would mean to not only you, but the Menendez campaign?
The Menendez campaign has fought so vigorously to prove to all New Jerseyans and to the United States of America that our Senator, Robert Menendez, is here for the next 8 years. And it is proven that New Jersey has stood behind our senator, the person that is a good guy, a good friend, a good person, and a great United States senator. I'm so proud of Bob. He's fought for DACA. He's fought for children to go to school, for funding, for more ambulance workers, for more firemen, for policemen. So many beautiful things he's done for this country. And I couldn't be more proud for Senator Bob Menendez than I am tonight. And this whole room and the entire state of New Jersey can attest to that. Bob Menendez.
New Jersey, Albie Osiris has been reelected.
District 8.
In District 8, so another Senate seat here in the state of House seat in the state of New Jersey has gone.
We're on the fast track, folks. We have Louis Bionzalillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, been there all night. How's it looking over there?
Hey guys, it's Louis Bionzalillo reporting live from Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters here on election night. It's very positive in this room. As you can see, all of the people here are very excited as CNN shows the Democrat winners and the Republican winners as well. They're cheering for the Democrats, obviously, and there have been a lot of Democrat wins tonight. Right now, we're looking at Mikey Sherrill's race, and it looks like she's up by a lot of points, by 12 or 13 points right now. So we're going to continue with that race in just a little bit. But right now, I just want to talk about how these Democrats here are very excited for what's to come tonight. Back to you guys in the studio.
We have Amanda Eustace in the news lab with us tonight, going around asking different people different questions on what their thoughts are about the 2018 midterm elections. Amanda.
Kate and AJ, I'm back here again with Jared Kofsky. He's actually going to give us a little bit of insight about what's going on behind us, which is this map, which is sponsored by NJ Spotlight. Can you tell me what's going on here?
Sure. So it's pretty interesting when you look at this map, because it looks like there's a good amount of red here, there's a good amount of blue the rest of the state, but it's interesting really to see where is red and where is blue. And if you look right here at the top of the state, Sussex County, this is one of the reddest parts of the state. It's a very conservative area, but because of that redistricting, it's now in Gottheimer's district, and that area is staying blue, which is very interesting to see. You look at where the pockets of red are, however, right here is a notable one, Congressional District 7. And this district, a lot of people were following it. A lot of people thought that maybe Malinowski would be able to pull it off, but it looks like Lance is still in the lead with 50.7%. And this is a very, very interesting district because it has that mixture of suburbs. Right here you have Westfield, you have Milburn, those New York City suburbs that can go either way, but you also have a lot of rural area. You go west on 78, you have Hunterdon County, you have Warren County. And it's interesting to see because right in the middle of this district, in Bedminster, that's where Trump's club is, his golf club. So it's interesting to see. A lot of people were going to say, is it going to go Democratic, is it going to go Republican? And it's interesting to see that Lance, the incumbent, has managed to pull off a victory in this election.
Interesting. Now, did your paper, online publication, or even print, we said earlier, did you guys cover a lot of this?
We did not cover a lot of this in this election. I know the 7th district is not our district. Usually the district that we fall into, which is Bonnie Watson-Coleman's district, that election was not even very competitive at all this year. Her district tends to go very blue. You can even see, like right here on the map, it goes all the way from Trenton all the way up towards Scotch Plains. It's a pretty wide district, but it's very, very blue. They didn't even have a debate last year. 2 years ago they did have a debate, so we were monitoring that race, but it usually sticks blue, so there wasn't much debate to talk about in this case.
And where are you from? What area are you
I am from South Orange, which is in the 10th Congressional District, but you'll notice that is blue as usual. The 10th District is represented by Payne. It used to be part of Pasquarello's district until they did the redistricting from District 8 to District 10. That district usually goes around 90% Democratic, so as expected, that district has stayed blue tonight. There hasn't been any change.
Now, I know earlier we were talking about homelessness because most of Mercer County, the issue that you guys are trying to combat there is homelessness. Yes. Now, in terms of Mercer County, where do they fall on this spectrum?
Well, Mercer County, it's interesting because Mercer County we have right here, this is still Bonnie Watson-Coleman's district, and even though Mercer County is pretty split, you have suburbs, you have Princeton, you have East Amwell, you also have an urban area, you have Trenton in the middle, but Mercer County tends to, regardless of where you live, it always seems to go blue. And it's interesting to see because other parts of the state really people might associate suburban areas with going red. Mercer County, for the most part, they go blue. One exception of this is Hamilton Township. Hamilton can go either way. Hamilton, for example, does have a Republican mayor who did vote for Trump and was an avid Trump supporter, but a lot of Hamilton voters tend to lean left. So it's pretty interesting to see Mercer County. You never know how it's going to go.
Sure, and just the last thing I have for you. Now, we've been monitoring this for the most part all night. Have we seen any of the counties switch and turn? Maybe they were blue before, now they're going red, or vice versa?
I haven't seen any counties switch that are particularly of note. What's more interesting, I think, is the consistency in some cases. I think a lot of ones that people thought were going to change, for example, were the 7th District. One notable one that has changed, however, is 11. 11 was one that people were really hoping might change for some people. There was even an organization called NJ 11 for Change. They wanted that shift in that district, and that has happened tonight with Sherrill winning in that district, beating Jay Weber, who was endorsed by Trump. That's a shift that many didn't see coming, and replacing Frelinghuysen. The Frelinghuysen family has been in power in New Jersey for centuries and centuries and centuries, so to have a Democrat take over that district can be seen as notable by some.
Absolutely. I don't even think we've seen that or saw that coming. Kate and AJ, I'm throwing it back to the desk.
We are joined by Professor Mark Rosenwig, who retired last year, but he has always been part of the Montclair State university
Well,
family
you know,
in the School of Common
it's
Media.
especially great to be back on election night and work with all of you, and you're doing a fabulous job.
Thank you.
In
Thank
a difficult
you.
situation because
Oh,
we
yeah.
have so many races that are undecided at this point. We have at least Fox News saying that the Democrats may be winning control of House of Representatives, but it looks like the Republicans are doing well in holding on and possibly expanding their reach in the Senate. And it, you know, it leads me to believe that I guess what we already knew, it confirms there's a lot of division in this country.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I guess the question that I have, just if we're talking about today, you know, the election results right now, is would you chalk this up so far, what we see, as a blue wave, or not really as much as we was expecting?
No, I think we have, for lack of a better term, the tide came in, and the tide was a little bit higher than normal. But you know, when people talk about turnout being very high, sometimes they don't take into account that it can be high in many places around the country, and it's not just one party driving it. There may be people who have local issues who want to vote for their local congressperson or the person challenging them. You know, some of the interviews that I did earlier this evening, some of the guests were talking about there could be a dozen or more reasons, everything from the Me Too movement to the Parkland students, you know, that movement, and many others, the immigration issue. Different people may have different issues that drive them to vote a certain way and to show up at the polls. I do think it's a good sign that particularly on this campus that we have a lot of people in your age group who are getting into the habit, which I hope they will keep, of voting each time.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up is with the victims of the Parkland shooting, this is the first time that those students can actually vote in an election. So how do you feel that that terrible, horrible instance has influenced them in a positive way?
Well, I think from, you know, following them on Twitter, and I was at the march in Washington when many of them were there, you know, it's obviously something that has affected their lives, their families, and their friends, and they're not going to forget it. Having said that, I hope some of them aren't disillusioned, particularly in the state of Florida, if all their candidates don't win. You know, we have a situation right now where it's a nail-biter for both the Senate and the governor's race in that state. And it's possible that candidates that they favor that are not supporting the NRA, you know, might not win.
Right.
Well, thank you for Professor Rosenwig for joining us this evening.
Good to see you guys. Congrats again. Great
Thank you very much. Now we go live to Katie Wierdo, who is at the Poli-Sci Party reporting Political Science Majors Party in Studio C. Katie?
Hi, so I'm here with another student at the viewing party. Can you tell me your name and what club you're part of?
My name is Thomas Lamonaco. I am a member of both the Political Science Club and the College Democrats.
Oh, very active. I love it. Okay, so the question I want to ask you is, why is it so important for college students to vote?
I give this a lot of thought, and I believe that it's very good for a student to be in tune with contemporary issues because it broadens your perspectives and it enables a student, in my opinion, to understand, like when a student will be in a class debate, for example, they understand their opponent's perspectives. They have a better understanding and they tend to develop a better appreciation for other perspectives that may not be in conjunction with theirs. So it helps a lot. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So what changes are you hoping that this midterm election will have?
Oh, I like to see more bipartisanship, and I like to see a lot more reaching across the aisle, you know, and hopefully put an end to the political infighting, this mudslinging ads, and polarization.
Yes, I definitely feel like we're very divided right now as a country, but we'll get there eventually, right?
Yes.
Hopefully. Yes, especially with this midterm. So I wanted to ask you about the midterm. Do you think, like, what candidate do you think is a shocker, like, that has won? Because it just came in that Bob Menendez has won for New Jersey. Is that shocking, or is that not really shocking?
It's not. I don't personally believe it's shocking because Bob Menendez is an incumbent, and his opponent was displaying very vile and mudslinging ads against him. You know, it was a very, very dirty battle. So instead of coming up with accomplishments and merit, it's pretty much based on infighting.
Gotcha. So may I ask, why did you want to get into politics?
I love how the government works. I find all the intricacies of the United States Constitution and how the checks and balances within our government work. It's a very interesting system.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. So now we're going to go back to the desk with AJ and Kate.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And we just got some really big breaking news
From District 11.
From District 11, Montclair State University's district. Mikey Sherrill, according to MSNBC, has been announced the winner of the district. So that's another seat that flipped, and the Democrats just took another seat from the Republicans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we will, when we come back after this, we will go live with Louis Biondolillo at Sherrill's campaign headquarters.
Right, but first we're going to have to do the top of the hours. We're getting close to that 10 o'clock hour here.
Yes, we are. We are still here, but that's okay. We have 3 more districts. We have 2, 3, and 7, so we're not going anywhere.
Exactly. But Sherrill, once again, Sherrill taking the NJ11, and we'll get more to that story once we come back for the top of the hour, right? So, congratulations, Mikey Sherrill.
We have Louis Biondolillo at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, how is it going over there now that she has declared the winner?
Hey guys, my name is Louis Biondolillo, reporting live from the Mikey Sherrill campaign headquarters here tonight. Mikey Sherrill has just reported that she has won. She has won her election, and the crowd could not be more exciting. If you take a look around, people are all fighting, people are hugging, people are even kissing.
And she is projected winner, not declared winner. Just wanted to clarify that for everybody.
Right, projected by MSNBC. So, you know, that's a big race to fall. That's a big chip to fall, and it's a big one for here.
District 11 is a pretty big one, and we can now say that the trip that Joe Biden made to, promote Montclair to promote Mikey Sherrill was a complete success.
Yeah, and young voters got out. But we're going now to Rebecca Eugene at the Jay Weber campaign, so to see what's going on over there after that projection. Rebecca?
Hi. With a surprising turn of events, Jay Weber has conceded to Mikey Sherrill, with 33% of the districts reported have been given to Mikey Sherrill. The atmosphere in the room was heartbreaking. Throughout his speech, people were crying, people were still cheering, but Jay Weber wanted everybody to know that they will keep fighting no matter what is going on. Republicans want to make sure that they save face throughout this defeat. Throughout this campaign, he has said that they were outspent 13-1 in just advertising within the month. So, and he also made sure that he thanked his family, his supporters, with a special thanks to his father. It was really sad in here, but Mikey Sherrill. And back to the desk we go. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And that was a really good point that she brought up. Mikey Sherrill did raise a lot of money. She raised about $7.6 million for this race. Meanwhile, Jay Weber only raised like $1.4 million. So that's a big disparity in the funds and the amount of fundraising that can happen in a race. It's important to really note that and see how much that.
It's a bigger deal than we think it is.
Exactly. Money speaks.
Money
absolutely speaks,
especially in the campaign.
Yeah.
But now we go to Pat Cicchetti live from the newsroom with our tweet beam, giving us updates on what the viewers are saying now about this night. Pat.
Well, thanks, guys. In an uncharacteristic move for Twitter's being a little slow to pick this up. We're following the hashtags MSU Decides 2018 and NJ Decides 2018. If you have anything you want to get in before we wrap up the tweet beam, please make sure you use those hashtags so it'll show up here. Nicholas, last name I can't pronounce, says, y'all better have voted today. And with him and his funky profile picture, I'm with it. If you want to complain, you want to have things to say, I really hope you voted today. That's your rite of passage. Alyssa talking about how people, everyone participating in election night, are you as anxious as I am to see who wins? Yeah, I am, because even though there's a lot of speculation from different news outlets, it is a close race. and we're still waiting on a lot of official things. Here we have another member of, I don't know if you remember that lemon thing that showed up before, named itself Sauce. We have Sauce's brother, apparently, who wants to tell us that we're doing a fantastic job, and I trust him. Look at that thing. He's cute. So we're waiting to see if Twitter picks up on what these news outlets are predicting, because it's a little slow on the uptake, which for Twitter, which is always moving, is kind of out of character. So we also have Mario Papa saying he's a little bummed that Cuomo won for re-election as governor of New York, and then voicing his opinions on how much he loves the Republican Party. Hey, can't fault the dedication. Molly Jean rooting for Andy Kim. We still have not heard back about that yet, I don't think. All that username wants to give a shout out to everybody that voted today. Your voice matters. Thinking otherwise is just pure ignorance. And I got to say, as you can see, people care about this stuff. It's an important race, and like Mr. Giant username, I'm really happy to see the levels of turnout are approaching record highs. I'm happy about it, and I'm really glad that people are getting involved. What else we got? Stephen Rimbolo. I'm down in the 3rd District rooting for Andy Kim. This race is huge, and we need any victory we can. Looks like you're on that track. He still thinks AJ is handsome, by the way. That has not changed, regardless of which party wins. Stephen Rimbolo is making his love of AJ explicitly clear for us. And I'm, got to commend the consistency. Congrats, Alyssa, once again. Congrats to Cheryl on winning U.S. House in New Jersey. Look, Alyssa hasn't officially been called yet, but a lot of people are saying that. So if anything else changes and as Twitter gets up to speed, we'll bring you up to speed. AJ and Kate, back to you at the desk.
Thank you so much, Pat. And we just wanted to make a quick announcement here.
We had a big national race end as Mitt Romney, former Republican presidential candidate, was announced the winner of the Utah Senate race. So Romney takes that seat. And sort of getting back to New Jersey, like we were saying, that Mikey Sherrill,
about the funds.
Right, exactly. Mikey Sherrill won that race in the 11th district, outfunding Jay Weber by a lot. And you know what I can say from personal experience, just with public support and just hearing people, Mikey had a much bigger name than Jay Weber.
She did, and one of the reasons why was because when we were talking about earlier, and I'm going to stick by it, how every single person at this university at least knew or heard her name once.
Exactly.
Because not only because, Joe Biden came here, I think it was because everybody found a way this year to vote. And we also said before how the people in Parkland, this is their first time voting.
Yeah, so the youth is really important, but we actually have an interview with our roaming reporter, Amanda Eustace, in the News Lab with us tonight. So, Amanda, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, I actually have Professor Steve McCarthy here with me. He's going to tell us all things Mikey Sherrill. Go.
Well, Mikey Sherrill was a real bellwether for the House of Representatives. She was running in a traditionally conservative Republican. A guy named Rodney Friesen had this thing for years and years and years. So this was seen as one of the bellwethers if the Democrats are going to get control of the House. She is a wonderful candidate. I've met her several times. We've interviewed her on campus here with students. She had the qualifications that are a perfect presidential candidate. I could see her running for president someday, to be honest with you. She was a Navy pilot. She was a federal prosecutor, and she's a mother of 4. So she had the credentials for this. She also, as our host mentioned before, she raised a lot of money for this campaign. I think she raised $7 million compared to Weber's $1.5 million. So really well done campaign. I'll tell you, I knew about her last year from social media, and I was astounded at that because they just went through Montclair with social media like crazy. I knew her story more than a year ago, and I met her campaign manager at the Montclair Film Festival, and I said, why do I know her? And she said, thank you. She was managing her social media. So this is an example, too, of a campaign that really took advantage of social media and got her name out there.
Now, getting another woman in a House seat, right? How do you think other females and other women out there feel about this, knowing that now we have another woman gets their foot in the door?
Well, we'll see what happens, but, they're talking about this being the year of the woman, and I hope it is, women tend to keep us out of wars and spend more thriftily than we do, men do. So I hope it is. I think there's a lot of things going on with the Kavanaugh hearing, with Trump's sort of comments about women, with the Me Too movement. I think women are feeling a surge of empowerment. I think it's going to be a good thing. I think America's going to benefit for it, and we'll remain to see what happens later tonight with all the women that ran, but this could be the year of the woman, and certainly Mikey Sherrill is going to be a force to be reckoned with. She is really going to have a bright future in American politics and certainly New Jersey politics.
Now, within the 11th Congressional District, we also had contender Jay Weber, correct? Now, where do you think maybe things might have fell off for him in terms of going against Mikey
Well,
Sherrill?
$7 million versus $1.5 million, that's a big deficit right there, number one. Navy fighter pilot, mom, and federal prosecutor, number two. But again, she was in a district that went Republican for decades with Friesenhausen, and it just went. You know, everybody thought that it was always going to be Republican, but she was such a strong candidate. She had a lot of things going for her personally. She really was just great, eloquent speaker. She appeared here with Joe Biden on campus. A lot of students saw that. We were there that day covering it. She really just knocked it out of the park, and so I think Weber was no match for her, unfortunately, and it's a big win for the Democrats.
And within her views going forward, what are you hoping, at least on your part, or other people that have voted for her, what has she stood on? What were her key values or platforms?
Well, she wasn't my congressman, so I didn't vote for her or not vote for her. And but I think that she is for a strong military, she's sort of a moderate Democrat as they come, I think, in terms of her experience as a federal prosecutor and in the military and stuff. So I think she's got a bright future. I think that the key maybe to the Democratic fighting Donald Trump is not going to go far left, it's going to go center. Elections for president are decided in the middle of this country, always 5 to 10% in the middle. So I think that that's going to be whoever, and I don't think Mikey Sherrill's going to be ready to run against Donald Trump, but whoever does, this could be an indication, victories like this district, the 11th in New Jersey, that more moderate Democrats might have a better chance in this environment right now.
Gives us a little bit of a sneak peek of what may happen in 2020 elections, right?
It's possible, yes, indeed, yes.
Thank you, Professor Steve McCarthy. Kate and AJ, we're going back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Amanda. Now we go live to Katie Huerto, who is reporting from the Montclair State University Political Science Viewing Party in Studio C. Katie?
Hi, guys. So I'm back here with Emily, who is a Mikey Sherrill supporter. So how are you feeling after this win?
I feel amazing. I mean, this is so monumental. This district has been under a Republican control for so long with Frelinghuysen and everything, and we really didn't expect for Mikey to win, and we're so excited. I mean, Montclair State flipped, and it's incredible.
Awesome. And so earlier you were talking about how women veterans are really coming into office. Can you talk more about that?
Well, there's so many women veterans especially that are coming to office and are running. I know in Kentucky especially there's a pilot there. And I know that only 33% of, I think, the House right now is veterans. And I think that more women veterans should move into power. I think that they have a lot of ideals that are great. They have the structure from military, and I think it's a great movement.
Yes, more women in power, like honestly, thank God it's happening. So the other thing I want to talk to you about is, so for Weber, he had it originally, and then you were saying his father had it too.
Well, Frelinghuysen did.
Oh
and then
goodness.
Frelinghuysen took it from his father.
My goodness. So you're saying this has happened for a long time, and this, so you like you said before, you are shocked that this is happening.
Especially.
That is flipped. So the other question is Mikey Sherrill your favorite politician, or would you want to be, if you could go back in time and be on her campaign, would you want to help her out and everything?
I mean, I spent so many hours canvassing and going to so many neighborhoods and definitely rallying for Mikey, especially on campus. So yeah, I think she has a lot of great stuff behind her.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to go back to the desk.
Thank you so much, and now we go to Ashley Kuzakankwe at the Bob Hugan headquarters. Ashley?
Hi. Yeah, the crowd is cheering. We're about to greet Bob Hugan on the stage. I actually have a student here with me from Seton Hall University. Hey, Frank, thanks so much for being here.
I'm happy to be here. Frank Frasco, WSU,
Expected it to be a little bit tighter of a race. I didn't expect it to end this early, but Bob Hugin, his speech right now, his concession speech, and a little disappointing to cover a race that ended so quickly, but such an honor to represent Seton Hall, and just looking forward to the next race.
Yeah, all right. So if you guys can hear in the background, see Bob Hugin, he's actually giving his speech right now, just thanking all the supporters that are here, saying how much he loves everybody. Everybody loves him. All right, and that's all I have. Back to you guys at the anchor desk.
Now we have Dominique Jackson live at Tom Malinowski's campaign headquarters checking in. What's up, Dominique?
So we're here again at Tom's camp, and again it's noisy in the room over there, and we have a lot of people still excited. And anytime it's a projected Democratic win in any of the states, there's a lot of cheering, a lot of going on. But for right now, we're going to check in with Callie and Jillian. How are you guys?
Hi, doing good.
Pretty good. You guys are both Seton Hall students?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I'm a junior.
What what are some issues in the country that you guys that the country's facing at the moment that you'd like to see fixed?
I'm really concerned about gun control right now and how we can protect all our citizens, and just like that we should really regulate all the assault rifles, I feel like. So I'm interested to see how we can fix that if Democrats are taking the majority.
And Callie?
Yeah, for sure. Gun control. I think time and time again we've seen why this is extremely relevant, and just the general well-being of the people in this country and in countries all over the world. Environmental laws, just general social awareness, I think, is important.
Thank you, guys. And we're going to go back to the studio.
We are going to go live to Christian Curatola at Leonard Lance's campaign headquarters for the 7th District. Christian?
Are we up? Turn to him, film him. And the counties of Essex and Hudson have really spoken about. Currently, we are listening to Bob Hugin's concession speech to Bob Menendez. They're not happy about many of his statements. They don't want him to give up. But now this is happening as they are rallying against Bob Menendez in reference to the allegations. But he's attempting to be civil and be honest and keep things above board. I know. Just let it.
We went to every city, whether it was Newark, Jersey City, Union City, Union City. We're proud. You can recognize to win in the future, we have that's the template. That's the blueprint. We can't be afraid of any issue. We need to make sure that people feel that we're going to represent all New Jerseyans. And if we don't do that, there's no future, right? We've got to make sure we do it. And with you, we were able to do that, to go out there and meet people and tell them we care about them. We've got to do a better job. We've got to do it for a longer time. So I wasn't the right messenger to get it delivered, but we've opened the door. We've let people know that we really care about them. And the people of New Jersey do deserve better. And I'll tell you, listen, the reality of it is that Senator Menendez is going to be our senator for the next 6 years. Anyway, thank you, Bob. 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 We have a lot of work left to do with this, right? We know that. Jersey do deserve better, and we're going to hope we can find people who come together and work together to find solutions. So, and the Devils lost tonight, but that fails. Listen, I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of what we've done. I have my self-respect before this game started. I have my self-respect today. I would never stop fighting for
Thank you so much. God bless all of New Jersey. God bless America. We're going to fight onward. It didn't work for us today, but we're not giving up. We never give up. Thank you for all you've done.
That was from Christian Curatola at the Hugin Camp. And we are joined by Professor Mark Rosenwig again. And we just wanted to quickly say that CNN does project that Jared Polis is the first openly gay governor of Colorado.
Right,
elected in Colorado. And then also from CNN, they're projecting that Laura Kelly elected governor of Kansas, which is a big victory for Democrats in a very red state.
Yes. And then, of course, in New Jersey, we have Bonnie Watson Coleman, who was reelected in the New Jersey 12th District. And big news is NBC projects Ted Cruz to win that Senate seat in Texas, which means the Republicans will hold the Senate. And so all this considered, we got a lot to talk to Professor Rosenwig about.
If I can, a lot of milestones tonight. We have the first 2 Muslim women elected to the House of Representatives from Minnesota and Michigan. We have 2 Native American women also elected. So, you know, it's a kind of a split decision for a lot of people because Republicans hold on and maybe pick up some seats, it looks like, in the Senate, which is significant. But, you know, the House being retaken by the Democrats. So, you know, if you want to say there's something for everybody, but nobody's completely satisfied, that could be a good summary of what we're looking at right now.
Right. So as of the way it's looking right now, do you think that the control that the Democrats will take in the House, due to current projections, is it like a large control, or are they 1 or 2 seats?
I don't think we can project the exact numbers yet. It's early, and there are a lot of districts in California that could flip to the Democrats. But I think it's important to note, we were talking a few minutes ago about the 2 11th districts in New Jersey where Mikey Sherrill wins as a Democrat.
Right.
And then we just got word that, which is a bigger surprise, I think, is that Max Rose is projected to be the winner by ABC in the 11th district in New York, which includes Staten Island, which is traditionally heavily Republican, and part of Brooklyn. And Dan Donovan had represented that district as a Republican congressman. So that was projected to be a close race, and that's a win for the Democrats.
Right, that's another flip. So both the 11th in New Jersey and across the Hudson in New York flip for the Democrats as the Democrats gain seats in both those.
Yeah, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in New Jersey in the 3rd and the 7th districts.
Right.
We've been getting reports from there, but looks like it's close.
Right, and the second too. The second should be an interesting race also. I mean, it looked like Andrew was leading a lot, but some of the early polls I saw had Grossman leading, but I mean, I haven't seen polls recently.
Well, nobody's called it yet, so it means we have at least 3 close congressional races in this state, and that's significant.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are incumbents also, so that's another thing. Like, we've seen a lot of incumbent winning, but it seems like in New Jersey that might not be the case.
Well, it's just as several of the guests that I interviewed in the studio said earlier tonight. It is a referendum in many districts on the president, but there are so many other issues that people are concerned about. Their health care, the Me Too movement, gun control, and so on.
I mean, so much has happened in the past year, and we were talking about many reasons why people in Generation Z or millennials are voting and why people are so passionate about this one. And I think it's just safe to say that 2018 has been a difficult year, to say the least.
Yeah.
Which is why I think that motivates people.
We'll see what the results are at the end of the night, or at least tomorrow. Some of these things may not be decided for a day or two.
Right.
And there could be runoffs in a couple of places.
Right.
And then, people are going to start revving up for 2020 already. This is a never-ending cycle, these political seasons.
Do you think that people are more fiery about politics now because of the presidency?
I think so. I think certainly in midterm elections like this one, we didn't see interest the way we do now. So, my personal hope, even though I'm supposed to be objective, but I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that, I just hope people stay engaged and continue to vote, particularly your age group, regardless of what their political bent is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Definitely, I agree. And we've seen in this campus alone, this election, it has been the best voter turnout in the history of our school. So
I hope you'll pat your classmates on the back tomorrow and tell them to keep it up.
Exactly. Yeah. Either way, if you're.
I saw a lot of stickers today.
Right. If you
I did not get my sticker yet, though.
Should I ask you if you voted?
Well, I did.
Sure,
I just voted by mail, so
Okay.
I didn't get that sticker.
You can ask me
You're
that.
good. You're good.
I did.
Yep.
I had to do the same. I'm from District 1 normally, so.
And I'm from District 3, so we're voting out of district
All
here.
right, so you're interested in that result?
Definitely. That
We're
district
running
is
out of
big.
districts at the table.
We'll keep watching, right?
Yep, definitely.
Keep watching.
Excited. But, right now we have Bryn McDonald at the Menendez camp. So we're going to Bryn.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 56th governor of the great
Phil Murphy's up first.
Phil Murphy.
Good evening, New Jersey. All across our state over the past couple of weeks, you could feel the passion, feel the hope, and feel the desire to get things right. And I know Sheila Oliver's in the house. She felt the same way. Let's hear it up for Sheila Oliver. And that is why millions of our fellow residents went out and exercised their most sacred right in our democracy, the right to vote. Let's be perfectly clear. More than just a seat in the United States Senate was on the ballot today. The people of New Jersey knew that they were voting on the very future, the future direction of our nation, of our state, of our communities, and of our people. Now the campaign is done. The polls have closed. The votes have been counted. And the people have spoken. And we, the people, said, we want Senator Bob Menendez to keep fighting for us. We, the people, told Donald Trump that New Jersey will not be part of an agenda that disparages our communities and marginalizes our families. We will not be part of an agenda that is openly hostile to our diversity. We said that we will fight for economic opportunity, for common sense gun safety, for higher wages, for affordable college, for tax fairness, and for affordable health care. We showed the nation with our turnout and our energy that New Jersey is out front in putting a progressive, positive vision to work. We saw community-driven politics coming together from the grassroots up to deliver a clear message that we are better than this. We are better than the hate and division coming from Washington. Look, we have a great team working for us with Senator Bob Menendez and Senator Cory Booker. I am so proud, I know you all are, of them and that they're going to keep fighting for our priorities in the United States Senate. Anyone who knows Bob Menendez knows we can count on Bob Menendez. Bob's never forgotten where he came from or who he's fighting for. Long before he was our senior senator, long before he was the highest ranking Hispanic American in Congress. Yeah. Or the ranking Democrat of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He was the son of Cuban immigrants who came to America in search of a better life. He knows both the American struggle and the American dream. Bob got involved in politics for the right reasons, to fight injustice in his community. When low-income students couldn't afford the books for his high school honors program, Bob ran for school board and won at the age of 19. When Union County was calling out for honest leadership, Bob Menendez ran for mayor and won and restored integrity to City Hall. He fought for Hudson County's working families in the state assembly, in state senate, and in the House of Representatives. And now he's fought for all of us in the United States Senate. Every step of the way, he has committed his public life to giving New Jersey's working families, women, seniors, and students a fair shot for a good education, a good job, and a better life. He's fought to increase Pell Grants and financial aid because he knows what it's like to depend on them. He's worked hard to bring federal dollars back into our cities and towns because he knows investing in mass transit, in public safety, and in sustainability are the building blocks of economic opportunity and stronger communities. There are few in Washington with his record of fighting for our values and getting things done. He helped pass the Autism Cares Act. He co-authored the Affordable Care Act. He worked across the aisle to shepherd bipartisan immigration reform through the U.S. Senate. Yeah. He has fought for, and we'll get this, please God, a higher minimum wage. He has been a strong voice for the Gateway Tunnel. He has stood up. He has stood up to the NRA in the fight for stronger gun safety laws. He's fought for vital Superfund and brownfields funding so we can turn the reminders of yesterday's industry into places for tomorrow's families. He's been a champion for both clean air and clean water. And no one fought harder for the families hit hardest by Superstorm Sandy. Pick any major policy issue of our time, and chances are Bob Menendez has not only been right in the thick of it, but he's been a leader fighting for New Jersey's priorities and New Jersey's values. Now, with Donald Trump in the White House and his Republican enablers in Capitol Hill working overtime to undo everything we stand for, from their efforts to gut affordable health care for our families, to writing a tax plan that hurts our middle class and those striving to join the middle class, to trying to ram through Supreme Court justices who will tear down vital protections our people depend on. His leadership and determination have never been needed more. Donald Trump traveled all around the country telling audiences to look at the ballots and imagine that his name was on them. On this one, he got it exactly right. That's exactly what we did. And that's exactly why we re-elected Bob Menendez. Having Bob Menendez as our voice in the United States Senate has never mattered more. His tenacity and drive have never mattered more. Today, we sent a strong message to the rest of the country. Today, we said that New Jersey's values matter. And tomorrow, Senator Bob Menendez will get right back to work fighting for us. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the honor of a lifetime to introduce to you the senior senator, the once and future. Thank you, New Jersey! Thank the Lord for getting me through everything I've been through. Today is a victory of hope over hate, for facts over fiction, for inclusion over division, for hard work over ripping people off. I'm so proud. I'm so proud that New Jerseyans reject the politics of personal destruction and the false, negative, salacious ads. Goodbye to all of that. My opponent spent nearly $40 billion of his fortune trying to convince voters that this election was about me. But what he failed to understand, and you knew all along, that this election was really always about all of you. It was about your health care, your education.
So that was Senator Bob Menendez.
Were just listening to
and Governor Phil Murphy speaking at the Menendez camp. And basically what they said was they were echoing this idea that this was all a referendum on President Donald Trump. Their whole speech was about how New Jersey saw past the divisive politics of the Republican Party and President Trump, and that's why New Jersey voted for Bob Menendez. That was their whole shtick for that.
That was it. That's not even an opinion of ours. That's a fact of what went down. So, I mean,
well, you know, and Eugen, you know, we saw a little bit of Eugen with his speech expressing disappointment and people booing when he said that, you know, Menendez was victorious. And as we were discussing, you know, Eugen spent over $30 million of his own dollars.
Right.
To
he
try
said
to
something
win
about
this race.
Yeah, Menendez just said something
Menendez
about
said the same thing.
$40.9 billion, something billion.
No, it might have.
It has to be.
It would have been million. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it's certainly somewhere north of 30 million.
Right.
And
I mean, about his commercials that I would constantly see, which I don't watch much TV this past few weeks, I will admit, but when they were talking about all of the ads that Bob Hugin would use, and
Right.
that
They're the aggressive ads. They're quite aggressive.
really
well,
aggressive
well, it's
ones.
interesting. We were discussing earlier that early on in the campaign, up until the last week, it was almost all, you know, Menendez is corrupt and so on, and you know we won't give all the details of the investigation of Menendez, but in the last week, Eugen started running a spot saying that he wasn't a rubber stamp for Trump,
Right.
because obviously their polling was showing they were falling behind further, and that it was a vote on Trump by the populace. So that's why they changed their, you know, well, they were running both spots, the corruption spot, but the I'm not going to agree with Trump on everything spot.
Right, and that sort of shifted, like you were saying, towards the end of the race.
And you know, the other thing that was interesting too is that in the 11th, where Mikey Sherrill won as the Democrat and flipped that district, one of her campaign spots in the last week said, "I'm not a typical Democrat," and talked about that she was more moderate.
Yeah, she was moderate.
Because you know, this district that she won has been Republican for a while.
Yeah.
So she had to appeal to people who would cross over. The suburbanites, so to speak, of Montclair and nearby towns to support her, even though she wasn't a Republican.
Right. I definitely think that that what we've seen from the Hugin camp, along with the Sherrill camp, like you said, is that the shift towards a moderate, towards a middle. You know what I mean? People don't want a far left
or a far right.
The thing that's tricky of this is it depends on the district. You know, we have Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, you know, in New York winning. She's a progressive.
Quite progressive.
29-year-old, the youngest, you know, elected.
Yeah.
And she'll be in the Congress. So it's, you know, you almost have to look at it as, you do have to look at it as district by district in the House, because the composition is very different. There's been a lot of discussion about some of the suburban districts flipping towards Democrats. Some have, like in Virginia.
Right.
In Northern Virginia and so on. That was held by the Republicans for many years. So we have a lot of division in this country, and I don't think one election is going to resolve
All right.
anything.
Well, we're going to quickly talk to Louis Biondolillo, who is at Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters. Louis, how is it looking over there at this point?
Hey, guys. So this is Louis Biondolillo reporting live from Mikey Sherrill's campaign headquarters on election night. And Mikey Sherrill has officially won her election. And the supporters inside are very excited. Everybody's very up, screaming and yelling and for their support for Mikey Sherrill. And she is expected to come out within the next half hour to an hour, which is very exciting. We'll be sure to come back to you guys about that. What started as a really close race between the Democrat and Republican, one that the Democrats sorely needed to gain the House of Representatives, they did take control of this seat, and it looks like that they will take control of the House as well. We'll see where that goes as well. That's not official, but we'll see where that goes as well. We'll come back to you guys a little bit later. As you can see, they're very excited right now, but we'll come back to you guys a little bit later when Mikey Sherrill makes her speech. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Louis. And now we're going to go to Katie Wierdo, who is reporting from the Montclair State University Political Science Viewing Party in Studio C. Katie, how's it going?
It's going good over here. Thank you so much. So I'm here with
Jonathan.
So Jonathan, why did you come to this viewing party?
So I went ahead and made my appearance here, being the political science club that's hosting this event. I decided to show my support, come here with my fellow MSU students, and watch the election.
That's awesome. Great. Did you expect this much of a turnout?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, we had a pretty good turnout. I'm really excited. Being our first event, it's really impressive, I'd say.
Awesome. So another quick question. Where did you go to vote? Did you do absent ballot, or did you go in person to vote?
So I went ahead in person to vote at my local polling place. It's only a block away from my home. So I exercised my civic duty to vote, and it was fun.
Awesome. What district are you a part of?
I believe it's District, the 3rd Ward in District 3, I believe that's it. So that's more so in Essex County, in Bloomfield specifically. So.
That's awesome. I must say, I got a comment on your pin here. I love political science. That is so cute.
Thanks.
So are you a political science major?
Yep, I'm a political science major and a jurisprudence major.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a mouthful. Okay. So why do you are you surprised with the results of this election?
Not so much. I mean, Bob Menendez, I'm sure he was projected to win in the first place, so I'm not really surprised, no.
Are you shocked about the Mikey Sherrill, though, because since she's like one of the first women to especially overturn such a Republican, male-dominated district?
I am extremely shocked, but I'm so glad as well, too. Being a former Republican district as well, seeing it turn around and for Mikey Sherrill to get it, I'm extremely impressed. I love it.
Awesome. So the last thing I want to ask you is for 2020, what are you expecting, since Democrats are just taking the House now? They're projected, I should say. And do you see the Democrats coming back again to keep going, or What is going on for 2020, basically?
Okay. Well, if things keep up as the way they are right now, I think the Democrats could keep a stronghold come 2020. I really want to see bipartisanship grow too as well. But in terms of like whether or not the Democrats will stick around, I'm sure they'll definitely like pick up the pace and keep doing what they're doing and making us feel impressed.
Awesome. And I want to talk about a little bit about media. So do you think media really portrays a big thing when it comes to politics and election and everything like that? Do you think that's a big part, or do you think it's more about the politics?
I think 100% media has a lot to do with it, especially in this day and age. You want to get the word out. You want to spread as much word as possible to like the general public. So media for sure has a big part in like politics and just spreading the word in general.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to head back to the newsroom.
Thank you so much.
Thank
but
you.
we have some breaking news out of the New Jersey 7th District with 73% of the vote counted. Leonard Lance has a 49.4 to 49% lead, so only 0.4%. So that is obviously still too close to call, but he's barely up right now by only 0.4%. Also, some New Jersey news. Democrat Bill Pascrell is reelected as expected for District 9, and so that's what's going on in New Jersey right now. So we still got a couple races that are still up in the air. We got NJ2, NJ7, and NJ3.
2, 7.
2, 7, and 3.
2, 7.
And the most polls that we have right now is the Lance Malinowski race. So that's going to be.
We have to keep our eyes very, very close on that to see what happens with that and see if anything switches over.
Absolutely. Just a reminder.
That's going to be the closest one for now.
Yeah. Just a reminder that Leonard Lance is the incumbent in this race.
Yes.
He's the Republican. Malinowski is the challenger in this race. So it's one of those races, you know, like we've been saying, the incumbent usually wins these close races, but we still don't know.
So isn't that what we always say? Like, are we actually able to figure this out until we know an official answer?
Yeah, that's the thing. It might take till 99% of the vote, and when you look across the country, you see similar things like the Florida governor, Florida's governor race.
Florida. What was the other one that was very close? We were talking about Georgia and
the
Indiana.
Georgia one is very close. Florida and Georgia.
Florida, Georgia line.
Very close to call. And also
to.
the Florida Senate race is quite close. So, you know.
We're keeping our eyes peeled, and that's
Definitely.
all we can do for however long we're sitting here. That's the best we can do. But
so it's still
Lance
exciting.
again at 49.4% and Malinowski at 49%.
Yeah, that's a insanely close race. A lot closer than late polls projected it to be. Actually.
Absolutely. And right now we are going to, I believe, go to Pat Cicchetti with our tweet beam. And I think.
So we can't. We're having some difficulties getting to Pat, so we won't go to him. Just a little bit on the 7th congressional district.
And we're also joined by Professor Mark Rosenwig, who never left us. He's just.
I would never leave you.
You'd never leave us. He's still here.
No,
Why would he want to leave
Rosenwig
this desk?
would never leave us. So what do you think about how close this 7th district is?
Again, 49.4 and 49, and I'm refreshing this.
Well, you know, anytime you're trying to unseat an incumbent in a district where the incumbent's party has the majority of registered voters, it's going to be a tough slog. So the fact that it's so close shows that maybe they're not just voting on those candidates, maybe they're voting on the president and issues associated with the current administration. That's, you know, a possible take on what's going on there. Because that shouldn't be, you know, if the administration wasn't so polarizing in Washington, Lance would probably be well ahead.
And one really quickly, Democrat Max Rose beats Dan Donovan in New York House race.
Right, that was in the 11th New York district.
New York district.
Yeah, no, we touched on
What
that
is this refresh?
briefly. That surprised me quite a bit. I mean, the fact that, you know, the polling showed that it was going to be close, but, you know, to have a place like Staten Island and a small chunk of Brooklyn go for the Democrat, you know, says a lot. It really does. It's not some. Now, you know, one thing we haven't looked at in New York, there are a couple of upstate races. The 19th district, which is called the Capital District near Albany. There was a possibility, and I'll look it up in a few minutes and let you guys know as to whether the Democrats would win there.
Right, but we were just speaking about the New York 11th, but we're going back to the New Jersey 11th as Mikey Sherrill is getting ready to speak at her campaign headquarters, and we have our reporter Louis Biondolillo there. So what's that looking like, Louis?
The mom of 4 is going to turn our district blue. What we all felt. How many people here have not done a tour for Mikey?
Everybody is very, very excited.
I mean, AJ, I'm trying to hear over their screaming. I really am doing the hardest I can to... Parsippany Library. They have a library there?
Well, they're saying, she's saying right now that her first meeting was it was in Parsippany at the library, and now she's changed the 11th district, and her acceptance speech is right back in Parsippany. So
we celebrate the example each of us has set for our sons and our daughters. And later tonight, when this celebration is ended, we can sleep knowing that we have made the 11th district stronger, more optimistic, and that during this important moment in our country's history, we proved that ordinary citizens can play an extraordinary role in our knowing that we are sending a woman to Congress who believes in us, who wants to build a better future for our children, and who will never stop fighting for what is right. And tomorrow will be a new day, a fresh start, knowing that when the people of New Jersey put their minds to something, there is nothing that can hold us back. I'm so proud to introduce to you our neighbor, our friend, and our next Congresswoman.
Campaign. Yeah, so Cheryl's just about to step off and step into the up to the podium to give her speech. We'll see what she has to say.
That was that was not Mikey Sherrill. I made the mistake there. I had thought that it was, but now she's coming out.
She's coming up to speak now.
I can see her on the stage.
It's very important to note that at the Menendez camp, they spoke a lot about how this was a referendum on Donald Trump.
Right.
We'll see if Mikey follows similar rhetoric, or if we see, like we were talking with Professor Rosenwig before, if she's going to talk about more of this moderate bipartisanship and not try and cause this division this early in her career.
Exactly. This early in her career, I don't think that's necessary to do. I think that she will take a different road, and I think that she could be a little bit higher.
I think she has taken a
road
different road this entire campaign, and that's what resonated with voters.
Oh, completely. Let's see what she's saying here. More woos, more cheers. It's sometimes just like Professor Rosenwig said, and what you were saying just now. The point of dividing a already divided country further. What is the point in that?
I don't see how anybody can say that, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, that this has come close to solving our issues.
Right.
Anybody, I think, who went into that tonight expecting that is naive.
Right.
But having said that, we do see some movement. We do see new portions of the population getting involved in the election process, and more women being elected to office, and that's a shift.
Mikey was just mentioned Weber's family, and congratulated them on running. So,
congratulations, but
people are just very.
extraordinary grassroots groups. Your deep belief in our democracy and your ability as citizens to make our country better has never wavered, and it's led to an amazing movement. So thank you. I urge you to remain engaged, to continue to work for a better future long after tonight. We have built this campaign with the help and the support of so many people. From our veterans, our first responders, organized labor, our seniors, our community leaders, our student activists, thousands of women who are ready. For New Jersey and the United States of America. Almost 2 years ago, I told my family that I was thinking of running for Congress. Their support has been tremendous. Jason, I love you.
And we, sorry, Jay, we were trying to hear Mikey Sherrill. We have Pat Cicchetti live from the newsroom with our tweet beam giving us updates, possibly our last update on what social media is saying about today's events. Pat?
Sweating bullets. What's up, guys? This is the end of the tweet beam here, following the hashtags MSU Decides and NJ Decides 2018. Thank you so much for sticking with us. As you can see, there is a bit of an outpouring of support for Menendez and Mikey Sherrill. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thanks to everybody that helped make this happen, because you guys did a really amazing job. So from the tweet beam and from upstairs, 90.3 WMSC, this is Pat Cicchetti. Back to the desk.
Thank
you,
Pat.
Pat.
So just a quick recap on what we were hearing from the Sherrill camp before. It seemed like she wasn't echoing what was said at the Menendez camp during his acceptance speech.
Right.
It seemed like she was being a little bit more of this bipartisan sort of, we all did this together, now we all have to go forward together type of a candidate, which is something we've seen
which is something
from
I'm
Sherrill.
a fan of, but I mean personally, but how we
yeah.
can have a more peaceful
One
society.
thing that'll be interesting is to see when some of these new elected congresspeople get to Washington, what are they going to do? Are they going to form their own caucus, their own group? Are they going to support Nancy Pelosi to continue to be the Speaker of the House? So a lot more to come. This is just the beginning of some transitions.
Exactly.
And really quickly, we want to go to Amanda Eustace in the News Lab with us. She has been talking to different people all night, asking questions about their reactions. So, Amanda?
Kate and AJ, I'm now sitting. My legs are tired. This night has been long, but has been very eventful. I'm sitting here with Huffington Post reporter Kara Baranakis. There we go, got it right. And I just wanted you to touch base with me and tell me, what is going on with Menendez. How do you think he won this race?
Well, I think the key here is that we would have expected the Democrats to win in a walk, but because of the situation that Menendez had with having gone on trial and having a hung jury, that put a cloud over him. At the same time, even though Hugin did not win, he put in a lot of money into the race and he was able to make a pretty good showing. But I think what tripped him up was that he used so many negative ads so early, and I think that people didn't appreciate that. The other thing is I think people were wondering how he would come through in terms of guaranteeing health care and Medicaid. So I think those are the main issues that were involved. And again, it would have been a much easier race for Menendez if he had not had the legal troubles that he had had.
Sure. Now, lastly, sitting here working all night, watching these races very closely, what can you say about being here at Montclair State, working with our team here, and just the entire outcome of this whole entire production?
It's been a wonderful night. I've loved being in the newsroom with all the energy of election night going on, and everyone has been really very, very excellent on a professional level, has really performed at a high level, and it's just been a pleasure to be part of the newsroom here. So I really appreciate you guys letting me take a corner of a desk and do my work as well.
Thank you, Carla. I couldn't agree more. I think everybody here also at Montclair State thinks that this night ran pretty well. I'm signing off here. Amanda Eustace, throwing it back to the desk. Kate and AJ.
Thank you, Amanda.
We've gotten that on point.
We've gotten it
ended,
at the
right?
very end. We got it.
So that's it. This is pretty much going to be it, and let's just do a little bit of a recap of all that we've seen tonight. So it's been really, really exciting.
One of the most anticipated midterm elections in history.
Definitely, and we've anticipated this big blue wave. And it seems like we've gotten some sort of a tide shift, like you had mentioned earlier.
The tide is flowing back and forth between the Senate and the House.
Right.
And just a reminder, too, that the polls are just about to close in California, so there are a lot of House seats up for grabs.
Right,
right.
and the Democrats have taken back the House.
The Democrats take back the House. GOP holds on to the Senate. Mikey Sherrill becomes a big House story, and we just want to say thank you so much. Keep your eyes on the polls for the NJ 2nd, 3rd, and 7th
districts. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Election Night 2018.